Back to Nadal because we're in the middle of that when we realize we have no recording going on about him playing the French Open. What do we think?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I can't add
Well-
anything on this. Give me a little background.
Yeah. Well, injury on Aussie Open, right? This rib or something, and then
He hasn't played anything.
hasn't played since January.
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, pulled out of but he does it like he was expected to come back for the French Open, and each tournament, the clay court tournament, he just the week before, sorry, I
out.
can't play. I just don't know if is that a play they all have to do? I mean,
I mean, it
it
seems
could
like a big old marketing plan.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
release
right?
his racket, he pushes
Yeah.
everything off and
Yeah.
saves it all for the last hurrah
yeah,
kind of ordeal.
I guess who knows?
Goes
Shauna,
out,
welcome,
maybe
welcome,
tries
buddy.
to win. Thanks. Good to be here.
It's Kevin. Updates on you. Let's talk Madrid. Kev on the update is just like what tournament we have on.
Where are we?
Yeah. So now it's Rome, but last week Madrid was it was an interesting one, man. It talks a little bit about the toughness of the tour. So 2 qualifiers, one of them lucky loser, got to the semis, and the lucky loser got to the final. That speaks a
They
lot. man,
played
of-
each other, and
in the semis.
Yeah.
They actually played each other in the qualifiers too. I don't think this happened before. So
That's
they
Struff.
Struff and Karatsev. So they played in the qualies. In the last round of qualies, they met. Karatsev won. Struff gets in on a lucky loser spot. They both make it all the way to the semis, and Struff wins that one and
Wow.
takes a step from out. It tells you, man, how strong this tour is.
Yeah.
Like somebody that's loses in the qualifiers, the very same tournament,
right
it makes it to the final.
to the finals.
Right? That's, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
how
wild.
often do people? You don't think that's happened before? Where
They were talking about it, but I'm not sure if it happened or not before. But it's rare.
yeah,
And then it's like,
Which is, yeah, because I think we were so used to that time where it was just like Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer.
that's a good point.
Mixed Murray in there, and like those guys were guaranteed finals all the time, and no one was even scratching surface. So
You're right.
for one of those guys to even advance to the final dance is
Yeah.
kind of crazy outside of
You're right. We used to that. I think that, yeah.
top 10 used to be top 10. No one
Yeah.
used to break into it for, I don't know, from 2010 on.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
the big three
sure,
plus
2008 on,
maybe 4 or 5 names in there.
Yeah,
like
Wawrinka, Del Potro.
making the mix, but
which is amazing when you think about it. Because how
Mhm.
do just a certain few absolutely separate themselves from everybody else? Because everyone
No.
else is working
Yeah.
as hard.
Yeah.
People are there's like how isn't it what just happened? How isn't that? I don't know. Why doesn't that happen more? How do a few people just absolutely, when you think about it and you think with the time, how certain people were just able to that's unbelievable.
I think we're in an
Yeah.
era that we're not going to see before, after that, man. We haven't seen
You don't think that
before,
will happen
we're not
again?
I don't think so. Or at least not for a long time.
with like only a couple people dominating.
Yeah, for that long,
Yeah.
to have, let's talk about Murray in a second, but to have 64 Grand Slams between 3 guys in a span of not even 20 years, or 20. Let's make it 20, because 2003 is Fed got his first Wimbledon, and 2023 is when Djokovic got the Australian. So 20 years, 64 Grand Slams. 3 guys. And it was like Murray
That's
gets 3,
amazing.
Wawrinka gets 3, Cilic gets 1, Del Potro gets 1. And Roddick, he got the US Open 2003. Is that it? I think that's it. Is that insane?
I certainly can't dispute you. It's
I
still pretty
think
amazing.
I might be missing somebody, but I think that's it, because Cilic got the 2014 US Open. Del Potro 2009 US Open. Wawrinka got US Open, Aussie, and French Open. Murray got Wimbledon twice and the US Open. Yeah, that's it. Wow.
It's crazy.
It is crazy when you think about it. So
I-
I guess that becomes the norm. But that right now, you're
Yeah.
not gonna be able to do that. I
Yeah.
mean, who knows? Maybe Alcaraz is gonna do that, but I think they're putting too much pressure on that guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's so young.
He
too.
is young. He is young, but he still loves tennis, man. He loves playing. Just loves it.
You think you can win a major when you're really young now with that much, or is that part? Do you need a little bit of experience? Like how
They're
who's the
talking about, but he
youngest
won.
who's the how old? Like I don't know. Like Becker was what when he won Wimbledon? I just watched that.
17?
17.
17, yeah.
17 is pretty goddamn young.
And Michael
man.
Chang was 17, right, for the French.
Yeah.
But that's
He
still
was. Yeah, I know.
right? He was 17.
Dude, that's what I mean. Can that? Can
But he hasn't won anything since. Well, he just had one, right?
Michael Chang?
Yeah. I think. Can you check? Michael Chang has one. I think he just won one
Was that
French.
the only one?
I think so. But still, 17.
Did you mention Team as well? Won the U.S. Open.
That's right.
2020.
That's right, team. That's right. That's right. He
How
won.
old?
In 2020 he won.
Yeah.
Oh, we're
Oh,
talking.
you're talking. Yeah.
Yeah, team. The beat Zverev in that. Oh, that nervous final, man. That was so nervous. Those guys.
Sorry, who am I checking on?
Michael Chang, Grand Slams. I think he just has the French Open in '89,
Yeah.
right? Somewhere there.
I think it was 89. Yeah.
That's
It's
Yeah.
17.
Yep,
It's
89
really,
French Open.
really young.
He lost the 95 French Open.
yeah,
Lost the 96 Australian Open final to
Yeah.
Becker,
to Becker.
and the 96 final to Sampras
Oh,
at the U.S. Open.
yeah. That was it. Peaked to 17.
Insane.
Still, he had a good career.
Was
How do you even do it at 17? Though,
I know.
Man? Give me a break. You're
I know.
still figuring out
physically,
biology,
your
yeah.
body isn't
Yeah.
even the same as the people you're playing against.
Uh-uh.
Mentally, it's certainly not.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you don't even realize the gravity of the situation, so you kind of
Yeah.
go a little bit like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know.
No, for sure. That's. I mean, Alcaraz won the U.S. Open right last year, 19.
Even that though,
But-
dude. I feel like when you're every couple years is like a big
Yes.
jump.
Yes.
Like 19 is different than 17. At
Oh,
17, you're still
yeah.
a fucking knucklehead.
But
How do you figure anything out?
but before that, there was not one teenager, and I think the last teenager was Nadal.
Yeah.
But other than Nadal, before that it had to be Chang or Becker or because I don't think Sampras didn't win anything as a teenager.
No. Wasn't
Oh wait, he was open maybe 19.
didn't Alcaraz wasn't he youngest to get number one in the world?
Yes.
Wasn't that a thing? Yeah. right.
youngest to get number
Right
one in the
after
world,
he
yeah.
won that.
Yeah. Oh, that was an interesting final to me because Ruud was. I'm not sure if it's true. I didn't check it, but they were saying during the final that he could have reached number one without beating a top 10 player other than Alcaraz in that final. So up until that point, the U.S. Open final last year, he didn't beat one top 10 player in a Grand Slam. I think
Mm.
Ruud or Alcaraz?
Ruud.
Yeah, he's been pitfalling ever since.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's when the rankings were off because
Right.
Djokovic couldn't play, Nadal was injured, Federer was out, so it was just this changeover of
Yeah, yeah.
players in the guard and so many injuries too. Those guys, a team that cannot come back. We talked about it last time, right? About how fast the tour is moving now, man. How you cannot take 6 months off, or 8 months or a year, and catch up. Like it just moved by. The speed of those guys thinking, drilling, everything
Yeah.
else, right?
So just quickly, only 7 teenagers have ever won Grand Slams.
All right, let's see, Kev. Let's see. Let's see how many we can.
You got Edberg
Yeah.
in 85.
Oh, we're gonna make a quiz, but sure.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
You still got 6 more.
Edberg was a teenager in '85.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we
It was
talked
19.
Yeah,
Becker.
So Becker, Chang.
Chang, Alcaraz, Nadal.
Mm-hmm.
Was Sampras 19?
Yep.
Yeah. And
Old school.
old school. Old school. Was
You're missing 2 actually.
missing 2.
Yep.
So Macaron didn't win it. Did he win as a teenager?
Nope.
No, because he went to school first, at Stanford for 2 years, right?
And actually, Alcaraz isn't on this list, so there's 8.
Yeah. Okay. So Jimmy Connors, did he win it as a teenager?
I don't think so.
Nope.
Lando?
94 French Open. Or sorry, not 94, 74.
Oh.
74.
74.
Yeah. Hold on. Let's we can come up with it. Was it Vilas? All right. Tell us.
Bjorn Borg.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
how,
Borg.
how we can forget about the perfect hair?
Yeah, I thought he was, although he retired
Very early.
young too, so I guess that ought to
20.
happen, yeah.
And then you got one more.
One more.
17, 288 days. 82 French Open.
I got nothing.
Noah? Yannick Noah?
Mats Wilander.
Oh, Mats Wilander.
Wilander,
Wilander.
yeah.
Wilander. Yeah,
Wilander.
yeah. He got 7.
That guy.
I think. he
By
has
the way, that guy
7 Grand
only had a
Slams.
slice backhand. Do you remember watching him play?
I do, but I don't remember him just having
Dude,
one
I
slice
don't
backhand.
think he
Yeah.
drove the ball on his backhand side.
Maybe.
I'm not kidding. I think
Yeah.
he owned like
Good.
and he was number 1 in the world for a little bit?
Yeah, I think he got 7 Grand Slams. Am I wrong here?
How do you win?
I'm not sure. Let's see.
How can you be that good without being able to like?
But that's what tells you how the
honestly, I
game
think
evolves,
he
right?
Yeah.
he. I mean, maybe he occasionally drove, but like that guy, just like
Yeah.
at that level, like, dude, how can you not just even if you're that good everywhere else, how can you not just take a little bit of time and figure out how to, you know?
He didn't have to.
Driving.
At the
I
speed of the
guess.
game,
Maybe
I
right?
guess.
keeping the ball so low, no one's really rolling it yet.
Exactly.
You
No one's
know?
rolling. The spins are not that heavy. The rackets are not that strong. The ball doesn't go that high.
He won 8 between 82 and 88.
8. Okay. Dude, that's
Or
big.
7 singles, 1 doubles.
Okay, so
you
7
were actually
singles,
right.
yeah.
Yep.
I can't believe you were even that close to coming up with the number of Grand Slams he won.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Really impressive.
Well, I knew 7. I knew he had 7.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I was impressed that you even knew there. We were off by 1.
It's close.
No, 7 singles. He's got 7 singles.
Yeah, he's got 7 singles, 1 doubles.
Yeah.
Oh,
Even knows
Yeah,
even knows
so
how
you
they
were right.
won. Yeah.
I didn't know he had the doubles. That's so in 6 years, 7 Grand Slams. That's wow.
Pretty good.
He's not talked about enough, man.
I've never heard of him.
really?
Yeah. McEnroe has 7.
He
I was trying to figure out how to read his name.
Yeah.
He was a quiet-spoken
Yeah.
guy, I feel like,
He
too.
does.
It wasn't like this
Yeah.
huge
Yeah.
personality, which is, like, it's amazing that people do such amazing things with this game, that you can
Yeah.
win that many Grand Slams, and if there's not this huge personality to go along with it, you're
Like
after
yeah.
a certain amount of time,
Yeah.
you're forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's like, Mats Wilander?
Make it easy.
Right there with the Oz.
Have you never heard of him either?
No.
Whoa.
I know,
What?
right? He actually has some
No.
good.
Yeah,
very
have
good-
that old man.
Very
Jeez, I know.
very good
Fuck.
insights when he commentates. It's cool to listen to.
Yeah.
Speaking of commentators, is one of my themes. Who do you guys? Well, Kevin, why am I asking you?
I'll still find a way to jump in. I'll have an opinion even though I don't.
Who do you like as commentators, Sean?
Oh
You-
God, I gotta watch more tennis.
Yeah. Oh, there
Yeah,
you
I don't
go.
watch enough. I do. When McEnroe's on, I do
Yes,
enjoy his
yeah,
interviews. Yeah.
yeah.
Guy's rock solid.
He really is, man. You feel like you connect with him as a tennis player. You're
Yeah.
like, I know what he's talking about. I know exactly what he's
His
saying.
interviews are really good.
Yes.
He asks great questions.
Yeah.
Since theirs doesn't really jump in, but it's kind of, everyone asks the same stuff when they come off. He makes it a little more interesting
Yeah.
for those post-match preferencing efforts.
I like Courier too. Is he
Yes.
still doing it?
I don't know.
I don't even know. Is he still
Yes.
doing it?
Yeah.
It's like got this chill kind
Very
of
good way
vibe
to look at things.
to
yeah.
him, but like yeah.
Very good
Yeah,
way
yeah.
to look. A very healthy way of looking at it. Yeah.
A lot of
This
people. I think,
tennis
either-
channel has a lot of commentators. Their team is just massive.
Huge.
Now. Yeah, of people in and out. Some cool. I like that guy Brett Haber, man. He's a witty guy. He's not. I don't think he's a tennis player, but he's got the mind to hang with those guys. Know when to pull back and let the professional talk.
Yeah, yeah.
But he loops things so nicely, and he connects stuff with. And on the spot, he'll make a funny analogy or connection and let you think like, "Ooh, that was
Yeah,
smart.
yeah.
That was fun." I like that guy. But back to McEnroe. Sometimes when I was watching matches, just to hear him talk about
Yeah.
going on.
what's going on there and what he thinks, because the guy knows.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
guy knows what's up.
Yeah.
That's I mean,
Yeah, and
he-
he's got opinions on stuff
Yeah.
too, which like makes it somewhat interesting too, instead of just
he's not shy.
Not
But you
afraid
need
to,
that, man.
speak his
yeah,
word.
yeah,
Right? He
Yeah.
spoke with Australia and
yeah.
with Djokovic and like, yeah, the whole saga. Yeah, there's some good ones on there. There's some not so good ones that I guess it's subject to personal opinion. Right?
I don't think it's as bad as other sports, though. I think most of them
Yeah.
are pretty solid around the world. You know, you get to like the NFL, and some of those guys are brutal
Are they?
to listen
I
to.
don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
enough about it to
Painful.
Yeah.
Are they?
Who's,
Painful stuff.
Collinsworth. I think everyone hates that
God.
guy. Where I had a bunch of buddies in college, and we just sit there and watch games on Sunday, and they would mute the TV because they hated the guy's voice.
Really.
Yeah.
That's
He does some
But,
of the
like,
he
I've
does
never
big
heard of that
games
in
too,
the-
doesn't
yeah,
he?
the-
Like does
yeah.
he
He's
Sunday night
big,
football
yeah.
or Monday night too?
Is he Fox? I want to say he's Fox.
I
or
feel
something
like,
that.
yeah.
So he's Sunday night, yeah,
yeah.
like prime time. So,
That's I guess every.
but yeah, I haven't ever really heard anyone rip on like tennis commentators that much. You know, for the most
the
part,
tennis
they-
people, they don't. Yeah.
Like
I-
Martina.
She got 9 Wimbledons.
Yeah, I don't know if you're
Come
right
on.
on that, dude. I mean, give me a break.
I think so. I think she's got 9 Wimbledons. Singles.
How many total?
Don't know, but I know she was going for number 10 a while ago, which I remember. But I think I could be wrong.
What's her name?
Martina Navratilova.
Wait, you've heard of Martina Navratilova, though, right?
Well,
Yes or no?
I have
No?
now.
Have you?
Yeah, I know the
Okay.
last name.
What?
I know, right?
Wait a minute.
I know the last name.
She won.
I
she
probably
won
couldn't pick her
18
out in the
major
lineup, yeah.
singles.
18. How many Wimbledons?
Now you're really testing me.
I think.
Oh
yeah.
man.
Yeah, it didn't even register a few minutes ago. You're talking about commentators. You know who Chris Everett is,
You know-
right?
Yeah,
Okay, because she was played in that same time. I mean, she
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
The problem is, even on the women's side, the game has just changed so much that it's like
Yeah, it has changed.
you can get lost in the
Yeah.
shuffle, even if you won. It's because it's just so much. It's so different now.
She won 9 Wimbledon singles
Wimbledons, yeah.
championships.
nailed it. Yeah, right on the money. It's like I'm on like Wheel of Fortune where the guy
Yeah.
knows the random answer.
Right? You're like, what?
The fusion
It's
core?
unbelievable.
I bet she must have won it in doubles with
She
Pam
must have,
Shriver
yeah.
a few times,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. She
Yeah.
has 59 total Grand Slam titles.
Singles and doubles.
Singles and doubles
Yeah.
combined.
and mixed.
Wow.
And
That's mixed too.
Yep.
That's a lot.
Yeah, in fact, Pam Shriver, all of hers are probably doubles.
Yes.
I don't think she has any singles, right?
No. Did 59, 58? What'd you say?
Yeah, 59. 9 Wimbledon, 59 total.
That's what I mean.
18
How do you? By the
18
way, she
singles.
wasn't playing in 1960.
I
She was
know.
playing in the 90s.
Yeah.
18.
This guy doesn't even know who she is, and she's won almost 60 goddamn Grand Slams. What do you got
That's
to
gotta
do?
be a record.
What do you have to do to be remembered
Yeah, remembered
in this
Th-
sport?
So what does that tell you, man? That you just live the moment. Is that this whole talk about the best ever? It can't be done because your feelings are connected with the people that you saw.
Right.
So you
That's
have
why
an opinion
I'm
on
like
that.
floored. I'm like, wait, how do you not
Yeah.
know who that? But I don't know.
Same
it's who
thing.
we grew up with.
Exactly.
Playing. Like we're the greatest players when we were younger. They were
Exactly.
dominating.
Yeah.
I got no idea. I've never heard of her.
Isn't that?
Can you
yeah.
imagine that? 59. Let's call it fucking 60 for Christ's
Yeah.
sakes.
But also, like, I probably couldn't name more than 15 current, like, tennis players on either tour
right.
combined.
But not all of them are going to have 59 Grand Slams. Okay, done. Honestly,
No,
like playing.
no,
They're
I know.
just-
I get your
honestly,
point.
there's a lot of great players that were playing in the 80s. Like, all right,
Yeah.
so they,
Right. Yeah, a lot of them.
Sabatini.
Doug,
Remember her? Never really
how
run
can,
that
How
much.
can you forget?
I know. Yeah, it's all right. But like, okay,
Gabriella.
whatever. Okay, like 59 Grand Slams. Like
That's a
you
lot.
feel like that
That's
should
a lot,
be
yeah.
something that like generations after are still like they know that name because you're up on the pedestal of
Yep.
of sort of the greatest players to play the game. You know.
Probably the greatest if we're talking just Grand Slams. Total.
She has the most.
I haven't heard that number, man.
Well, she also didn't she play more doubles than a lot of
Yes.
players played too.
McEnroe
So like
did the
some
same
of
thing,
those
yeah.
are, I mean, some of those
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
Well, 31 women's doubles and
Right.
10 mixed. So 41 total.
31 women's doubles Grand Slams.
Yep, 41
Wow.
total.
That's at 4 a year. That's 8 years straight.
Yeah.
So she must have went over the span of 15, 16 years, but that's still two
Yeah,
a
she
year,
was
man.
pretty dominating.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wow.
That-
31.
She
man.
was also back in the day before
That's amazing.
Well, can you
people
play?
were like super like
Yeah.
they were always athletes, they're always fit. Like the fitness level is off the charts
Yes.
now, obviously,
Yeah.
but like in the 80s, like not so much. Even she was always sort of a like
Yeah,
she
yeah.
was like a always in unbelievable, like in better shape than anyone else probably on the tour that she was playing
Yeah.
against.
She had that chip on her shoulder. She wanted to prove with the whole history of the Czech Republic and Czechoslovakia back then, and then she became U.S. citizen, and she wasn't allowed back. So it was a lot
Yeah.
there that she was. Yeah.
At least in the U.S., I feel like she was not very well liked for a lot of her career,
yeah.
and then it somehow
Well, yeah.
it somehow spun.
Yeah.
It somehow spun, and like in the end, people were like, everyone loved Martina.
Yeah.
I feel like that
Right.
game is outdated, though. You just don't see.
I know.
She was like full on.
Do you
she's
think?
serving, chip and charge, serve and volley, like
So do you think that in 20 years when we're old men, those guys will run the tennis world and we have some younger guys and they'll think that Federer game is outdated?
that's what I mean. Is someone
Do you
not
know
going
what I
to
mean?
So a kid that's what 2
Yeah,
now?
yeah. Our kids now that we raise and teach.
Someone says talking about Roger Federer
like,
commentating, and they're like, "Yeah, that guy." And you're like, "Well, you know, he played too." They're like, "He did."
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, but Martina,
know.
that's pretty dominant. Like, that's what I mean. What do you have to do to, or is there nothing you can do because it's
Nothing.
it's a sport that changes so much
Our-
that all of a
our
sudden
memory-
the way you played is outdated and not even interesting to people.
Oh, because it's you stay current with the times and you just live in the moment. It's like same thing like everything else. You just 40 years ago, whatever it was, you weren't in it. You can't be connected with it.
Yeah, I don't
Right.
know. I wonder. I feel like those guys have a different approach though that a lot of these other individual athletes might have though. Where like Federer and Nadal's got all his camps and everything set up. He's got all these academies. So in his place, they've like built this massive brand around themselves.
So
with
the
Nike and
relevance
all that.
factor is going to be there.
Where I feel like his logo is still going to be on clothing.
Yeah.
You know, 10
Right.
years
That's
down the
true.
line, it's
That is
racket
true. There's,
sales.
like,
where
there's
it's
a
in.
brand
You know,
that,
anytime
like-
you look at a pro staff, you're going to think Roger Federer. Whether or not you know who he is, they're going to try and get his name trademarked
That is
somewhere.
true.
But
That's a good point.
I feel like that helps keep them around because, you know, you look at all these other guys. We all grew up knowing who Sam Prez and all these guys were, but we didn't watch them much, you know.
Yeah, of course.
But at that time, no one was really capitalizing like on their likeness. They weren't building these massive brands around themselves, and you know, there's a good reason. Federer was like top 5
right.
paid athletes of all time for what, in like 5 or 10 years running
Yeah.
up there with Tiger Woods and those guys. But he's managed to just have this massive brand underneath him, and now he's just getting checks from Nike and Wilson for just running his name, you know. And he's not even playing anymore. He's gonna be
No kidding.
Well, that contract he had with Uniqlo, $300 million for 10 years.
Yeah.
That he made like.
and they're just gonna plaster his name all over the place
Of
too.
course.
You know, they're gonna probably use him
Yeah.
for years to come, like Wilson did. So
Yeah,
he may
that's,
be relevant more so than like, you know, think about players like Djokovic, where
Yeah.
the guy's awesome and he dominates, but I don't
not-
know if he has a brand that really
No.
brings him to
no.
those
No.
guys'
No, because
level.
people don't connect.
know?
You're right.
Yeah.
That's a very good
Well, that's
point,
what I
Sean.
mean. Those personalities, you know, but even before people were creating brands, the people that are remembered, there was outside of just their game, there was a personality around them that like people connected with.
Yeah.
Now, when you have that, you're able to turn it into something else where like people just want your name attached.
Yeah, it's like
to
you said in
know?
branding. Yeah, I think that's commercialism now. It's evolved so much. You're right.
Yeah, because I feel like gone are the times of you being associated with strategy. I feel like most of the strategies are pretty much out there. You know, Sam
Yeah.
Prez is like serve and volley guy. Federer was again like serve and volley, great hands,
Yeah.
had those flat ground strokes, and then Nadal came out. Everyone was like, he's the first guy to put real spin on the ball. You know,
Yeah.
real spin monster. But now that all that's kind of gone and it's like out there, you know, Alcaraz is known as a great all court player because everything else has already been associated. Roddick
We were talking about that last week. Like, is there another place it can go though? Like, you don't like. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Where
don't
does
know.
it go?
Like, even take Roddick's example. I think a lot of people know who Andy Roddick is, and he was a great player, but what do you have? One Grand Slam, two Grand Slams?
One, 2004 US Open.
And he's known for like
2003
biggest
US Open,
server of
sorry.
all time. And now Ben Shelton's out there rocking the ball like 150
You're
miles
right.
an hour,
Yeah,
breaking
yeah.
his record. But Roddick is like the OG big server, so there's no more
He did.
staple kind of like play for you to have to be known. I feel like you have to now create that brand
Around it,
as
yeah.
well as being a tremendous player.
That's such a good point. You're right. So maybe those guys will stay relevant through so many other things.
Right,
I think,
but
I think
that
Federer's
becomes
cooking-
different than just
Yeah,
staying relevant through tennis.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Stay
not like the
relevant
game.
through something. Yeah,
there's
you use
there's
that as a platform, and
right,
then you,
and then there's a million other
yeah.
ways that there
Yeah.
are now.
Yeah, that's man. Yeah, you're right. In 15 years, are they still going to be relevant? Probably.
Yeah, I
If they
mean,
keep doing this. The machine behind them.
Right.
they're like they got to be one of the I mean, you guys can probably go back and attest to other players, but they got to be the first kind of tennis players that were like household names. Like, people had nothing to do with tennis. They knew nothing about tennis, but they knew who Federer was.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not
Yeah.
Djokovic or Nadal, but like everyone knew who Roger Federer was. And I don't know if there'll be
There's
another
there's
player
transcenders
kinda.
there, and I think you need to have more than just tennis. I think Kevin's right, and I think you're right. McEnroe was transcender. He was, because people love to see him get mad. The
Yeah.
personality there,
Right.
right? He had a few of those, but I think you're right. I think that could. He's actually still ripping off. Not ripping off. I shouldn't say that. He's capitalizing on what he was doing on the court.
Yeah,
He's
his
got
his commercials and stuff he
everything
does.
else.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
knows him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't be serious.
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, it's good for him with the movies and
Yeah.
that's. But as far as
Federer's
tennis,
interesting though, because like you look at McEnroe, this temper, this huge thing, this and that. Like Federer is sort of like a even keeled guy. It's not like he's a huge personality necessarily. He's got this greatness about him, and like through that, there's this like I don't know, this
Like an elegance.
this air of confidence that he
It's-
has. He's like just become this ambassador
It's your
of
standard
the
of
game,
elegance.
and he's like gentleman, and he's playing a gentleman's sport like that.
Yeah.
But he's not like this. He's not like this huge personality where on the court he's. I guess through his shot making.
That's what it is. That's how good his tennis
It's
is.
so impressive, but it's not like he does all this other stuff where people are like, oh, I love
Yeah.
watching that guy because he might have a temper tantrum or he's just I don't know. There's a million ways you can. He's like I don't know. Is it just
That's a very good
through
point.
his shot making and his
Yes.
actual
So that
like
tells
playing
you-
the game?
That
Yeah,
tells you how good that shot making is, how his creativity, man, how much people love it. Because every time you watch that guy, you don't watch it for the score. At least I wasn't. You watch to see what he was doing. Losing or winning is like, how is he gonna hit that shot? What is he gonna know? Every point. So it was about that when you watch it. It was not. People get so tied up in results right now. Oh, 22 Grand Slams, 23 Grand Slams. Did he win this one? But if it's an ugly match, I'm not gonna waste my time watching it. If I see Djokovic, I know what he's gonna do. I did not watch the Australian Open final because Tsitsipas, no shot. I know Djokovic is going to lock into that backhand. He's going to lock into deep return. Tsitsipas falls to the left every time after the serve. He's going to explode that a couple of games a set, and that's it. You know what's going to happen. But with Federer, you never knew.
yeah.
Like, all right, what's going to do now? He comes out with the sabers. He does this, the slices, the drop shots.
Right.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's what there's not. I don't think there's one person that plays tennis that did not appreciate. Maybe they might not like him, but not appreciate some shots that he's done.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
People like, oh, yeah, that's pretty. Because you know the sport. You know how hard that is
Right.
to run in certain angle and
Right.
do a drop shot from there or serve or. Do you know what I?
You have to play a little bit to appreciate that, though.
Yes.
Because otherwise, he furthers. That's the thing, and we've talked about this. Drives me nuts about tennis. The most is people that don't get it. When you watch people that are doing it at a certain level, it looks so easy. You watch it on TV and you just see them. You have no idea of like the timing and body mechanics and racket mechanics that have gone in to doing it, so much to the point where everyone's like, "Yeah, give me a racket. I could probably play that game." And you're like, "Fuck you." Do you know how long it takes to, man, I've told you, in college, we'd be like, I'd meet all these guys and be like, "Oh, you play on the tennis team here?" And they'd be like, "I didn't even know we had a team." I'm like, "Yeah, we have a fucking team." And they'd be like, "Oh, we should, I went to camp for 2 weeks a year from 3rd grade to 7th grade, and I'd play tennis while there. We should hit sometime." I'm like, dude, I wouldn't go to dudes on the basketball team and be like, "You and me, little one-on-one later?
I know.
When you play a little horse?"
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't even question it. And it was that move there. That's the one right there. That's how I know you're not a tennis player. When I used to play.
But we talked about corporate events.
You see guys sometimes and they do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, you might actually have a little game.
That's the difference.
There's like funny, just the way,
They do this.
There.
It's like, oh.
Yeah, we should go knock the ball around. I'm like, yeah.
You know what they say?
We'll be in touch.
We should volley sometimes. We should volley sometimes.
Volley for serves. Volley for serves.
Instead of rally, they say we should volley.
Yeah.
We should volley. Yeah. And they're like, my backhand, it's just a little bit.
Sounds really tempting.
That's true.
But when you watch it, if you don't know anything about it, you just watch it and it looks, dude, it looks so easy. Fed pushes that for the most because it's just so everything is so everyone you'd watch it and you'd be like, "Oh, that looks fun. I'm gonna hit a one-handed backhand."
Yeah, I know.
What,
dude? How many?
Are you kidding me?
Over the years, how many people are like, I want to learn that one-handed backhand.
Yeah.
Do you know what that guy's doing?
Right. I'm like, you have 10,000 hours, right?
That won't even get them there. Yeah.
Right. Only perceived though, because you see people get on the court and the first couple times they hit something. And they're like, "Whoa, sorry, that one didn't quite feel right." And I'm like, "Oh no, they're not going to feel right for a little bit."
My swing's just off today.
Yeah. They're like, "Whoops, let me do one more." And they're like, "Ooh, that was kicked off." Meanwhile, they're like hitting their frame, they like have this huge hitting surface. It's going off the frame, or it's going like bottom of the net off, and you can see them right off the bat. They're like, "Whoops." I'm like, yeah. Keep rubbing that arm and shaking it out, dude. That's gonna get it.
I had 2 eggs this morning for breakfast. Didn't get my 3rd in. My swing's usually like Federer.
Yeah, feeling a little lightheaded out here. Sorry.
They look at the racket like something's off. Yeah.
These demos you gave us stink.
Yeah, exactly.
It is a tough sport, man. It really is. You just, and I do appreciate people that do know that, and they do a lot.
I think when you've hit one time, you figure it out real quick.
Yeah.
And TV it's it's getting a little better actually, the way it's filmed.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but like, you really have to see a high level match close to see the angles that the balls are rising and dipping, or it's staying straight, or like watching what it's doing, or just seeing the goddamn speed of it. Like on TV, it's
That's
just
a very
it looks
good
like
point. Yeah.
two people playing ping pong for
Your
Christ's
perception.
sakes.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
We were up in New Hampshire a couple months ago doing some sport bets on tennis, just for fun. It's a little ski weekend.
Yeah.
And these guys, my buddies, none of them really played tennis. A couple of them went out and rallied, but they made that same comment. They're like, I wish they would change the camera angle because they shot one of the, I don't know, it was like 1 or 2 of the rallies from almost behind the guy.
Yeah.
Overhead, and they're like, "That's awesome! I want to see that more
that
rather
was done
than just
recently.
like that."
I don't know what tournament
He
it
put
was
on
at.
Aerial thing.
Alcaraz and Sinner up court level.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
yeah.
amazing to see. The split step, just that alone.
Right. So is that was never just shown like that on TV? That's like
Sometimes
a
they
specific
do.
thing that you have to.
It's
honestly,
almost never shown.
Honestly,
you have to,
that is really gives you the perspective
Oh, it's amazing.
of it all. Like, I don't know why isn't that done a little
Federer
bit
once
more?
put on Instagram for him. Somebody put a video just of his feet,
Yeah.
and he reposted. It was like, we never talk about this, how important the split step and the movement is.
Right.
It was just the gliding of
Right.
nothing can happen without that. It's the silliest thing when you tell somebody doesn't know. Like, no, the split step. Like, yeah. How do I hit a shot? Listen, you need your split step.
Right.
You need to know how to float on that court. And
Well-
every time you want to take somebody to a slump, just have them move their feet, man. Move their feet and do your split step, and it's just happening.
I think the appreciation that's not there for it is the fact that someone is moving at a pretty impressive speed anyways, and then timed just perfectly at the right second, they land
Right.
so that as soon as a ball is struck very hard, that every bit of their body weight can change directions, set up, and be ready to hit another shot. Like when it's done right, it doesn't even look like it's
Anything
happening.
happen. Yeah.
But there's a moment that every successful tennis player has where they are perfectly balanced and their first step is going in that direction, which like that creates that glideness. I mean, you
Yeah.
watch the common, the recreational tennis player out there, and they're almost like, how often during clinics are you like
Yep.
waiting for someone
Yeah,
to
fall,
fall
yeah.
a little bit?
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
ugh, you
Yeah.
know, or even at high level, you're coming in like, you got a split, and like, yeah.
Or even like,
Okay,
yeah,
I know you,
yeah.
yeah, me, but like, there's nothing
Yeah.
else like that. Is
The
yeah,
when we put on the board, right, the preparation steps, and we do that's number one. I tell people, if you don't do this correctly, the split step,
right, What else can happen?
Nothing's gonna be right.
right,
Right, your turn it's not gonna be there. If you're on your heels, you can't turn. The run is not gonna be there.
right.
Right, you're not gonna be able to stop on time.
No,
So it doesn't matter how you want to hit the ball. The preparation stage is so important to
right.
just
Right.
yeah.
That's how complicated of a game it is. There's so many other things that people feel like like they have to spend more
Yeah.
time thinking about.
Mm.
But like, if you're not thinking about that, but when you're trying to put it all together, dude, just striking a tennis ball takes every bit of like. Once you've played it enough, you forget. Like it's almost cruise control at some point.
Yeah.
I watch people out there in clinics or lessons, the ball's out by that much, and they just hit it back and they're playing. I'm like, that ball was out, and they're like, huh?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I think the ball was out by that much. They're like, oh, I didn't even really notice it bounce. Like, what?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, but you get it because their
Yeah.
brain was just it couldn't even process
Yeah.
that because they're every bit of like for a little bit, so much of your brain power has to go with just the angle. Like
Feeling that.
once you have that breakthrough where you just know how to strike it, then you can start maybe putting it
Yeah.
into some other spots. But otherwise, your brain is going to prioritize somehow. Even if you're
Yeah, the
trying to
task
think
in
about
hand,
your
yeah.
split, this, that,
Yeah.
at some point there's a ball coming at you, you have a racket in your hand. Your brain is
Yeah.
going to put all its power into like, what do I need to do? Because they just saw the last shot they hit go over the goddamn curtain. And they don't want that to happen again. So you're like, everything is, Meanwhile, you're like, wow, this guy's hitting the ball. I'm trying to think
Yeah.
about split. They're already preparing for like, oh my God, when this ball comes in, I need to be doing this, this, and this,
So that's such a good point. So what do you think with the juniors, right? Alice and I did this actually with the kids for the last few weeks. With the 5 and 6-year-olds, right? That's what we did them. And we prioritize that, just the movement. And it dawned on me that's. Don't you think that was important for them to the movement versus the
Oh,
stroke?
It
So we
fully
shift the focus.
changed it.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't see a ton of those kids play like before that, but I mean, a lot of those kids went from whiffing to hitting clean strokes
Yeah.
most of the time.
Yeah. So
like,
we just prioritize the movement, and I think with the juniors, not adults, because the adult mind does go, the adult mind goes to the stroke, but the kids,
Ice in there?
yes, ice, please, and just make another one. Yeah,
Same thing?
sure, non-bubbles.
I have some milk downstairs.
Yes, please.
Syrup.
Yeah.
Yeah. The adult mind goes to the shot, but the kids, you make them run.
They start
Start
playing
focus on the
better.
running. Yeah,
just
it's not
do
not
it.
even talk about the stroke. Just talk about running for the shot, stopping when the ball bounces, recover back, and man, what those 5-6-year-olds were doing, that was fun to watch, man. I mean,
so much fun.
yeah, they're just again that's step one of movement, and you get that to them, it's gonna become natural after a little bit,
Yeah.
and then you can get in a stroke and everything else.
Well,
I
I mean,
think
your strokes can
right.
be textbook, but if you can't put yourself in the right position to use them, they don't really make a difference.
Perfect
You
example.
know?
All of us, you guys, I didn't play high school tennis, but
You were doing gymnastics at that point, right?
it's just very.
You're studying how many Grand Slams were won.
Yes. Every player. Actually, it wasn't. It's just all retained from here, from watching and hearing. That's your typical number 3 singles player in high school tennis. That's an athlete, that plays against your trained kid that's not even 1 and 2, doesn't have the match experience, but has the beautiful strokes
Mops him up.
and mops him up, man.
Yeah.
How often
yeah.
does that happen?
all the
Dude.
time.
Well,
Even in
Right?
college. Yeah.
constant. It happens
And if you
more
think
often than
about
it
it,
doesn't. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
there. That kid's an athlete. He's got the movement. He's got the split step. He's got the running. He's got anticipation of the ball. Strokes, it doesn't matter.
I think it can even happen at a little bit of a higher.
Yeah.
So like her senior year, she'd been taking clinics and lessons and
Yeah.
all this stuff. In her senior year, she her team behind her was no good. But she
Yeah.
whatever. She went out and lost her like first 3 or 4 matches. And I was talking to her mom and even Nicole essentially. She's like, everything I've heard in clinics and lessons, I'm like trying all this stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's not working. Her mom's telling me she's like all these errors she's making, trying to do all this stuff and that.
Yep.
And finally, like we had a few lessons where I'm like, here's what you can do all day long. Like forget everything you want. Just like keep like I'm gonna move the ball to this, run it down, put it back in play,
That's
put it
it.
back in play,
That's
put it
it.
back in play. And she won like
Yeah.
the rest of her
That's it.
matches for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
There you go.
At some point, like
Super Coach Kevin.
Sometimes, yeah, I'm like, forget everything
He's
I've
here.
ever
You
said.
can,
Monday to
contact
Friday.
the desk, yeah.
9 to
Check out his
4.
availability.
I know I've been working with you for the past 15 years. Just erase everything. New strategy. Just don't fuck up.
Yeah.
And literally, and dude, you're playing outdoors and swing. Some of those are, I don't know. Sometimes you're playing kids that are untrained.
Yep.
They don't even know where they're hitting the ball. So how, like, some of those strategies you're based off percentages.
People didn't know. Yeah.
And like, it's almost like you're working with each other a little bit, but you're working against each other. But there's like, I know if I put a ball here, I know the couple choices you're probably going to make. Well, if you don't know the choice you're going to make,
Yeah.
how can I possibly know the choice you're going to make and even set up for that? And then you end up, it fucks you up more
Yeah.
than it helps. That's times 10 in like a number 3 slot where you have a kid who's like,
He's like, I don't care.
I'm done with playing lacrosse. I know
Yeah.
I've done it this year. I'm going to grab a tennis racket this year,
Yes.
and I'm going to hustle, and I'm going to not get caught up in any of the fears that this person who's
Because I didn't.
trained
Yeah.
who has this fear of like,
And
oh, I know
expectations.
this can break down or that can break down, and I
Yeah.
expect to do this, and I know at this time I'm supposed to do this, and this kid's just like, what? I just get my racket on the ball and fucking slingshot it back?
Yeah.
I'll do it all day long.
Boom.
Yeah. You're out there, you're worried about the wind. He's like, is it even windy out here? I don't
Yeah.
know. What the fuck does
Yeah.
wind have to do with
Yeah.
it? I'm just throwing the ball up toward the clouds.
And I
for
look at my
Christ's
buddies
sakes.
on the side and be like, I want
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who I just beat.
They're like, I'm a tennis player now. You know,
Yeah,
you're like, what the fuck? Holy
Yeah.
shit. He's
Yeah.
like, nice match, bro.
Yeah. Like, what do we do? We shake hands?
Yeah.
'Cause-
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, that other kid is like fucking ready to
Yeah.
retire. He's like,
Yeah.
let's-
Going to fight his dad.
yeah, exactly. Throwing haymakers. That's what happens. Right. It's such a great game. It's just really fucking fantastic.
I feel like with those kids, it's almost too at their fault that their strokes have been so emphasized that they have had no footwork training. That's the thing I
Yeah.
see the most. Is these
Yes.
kids have these beautiful
Yeah.
strokes. Now, add a kid like that just wants to go out there and play scrappy, and they're not hitting a lot through the ball. These kids don't know how to move their feet and get through the ball because they just stand there all stagnant, set up
Yes.
to a floater, and absolutely sky zone it. You know, they don't know how to actually move through a ball and get their feet in the right position, so they're not lunging at this thing. So it's funny. You almost have two opposites going at each other. This kid moves really well and doesn't hit anything on it, and then you've got someone that plays super well but doesn't know how to move their feet.
Yeah.
And if you could just like merge the two, you'd have the perfect tennis player.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
for any competitive level.
But it makes you think like, how do you prioritize? And you gotta prioritize physicality.
Yeah.
To some extent, you got an athlete. That athlete will learn how to hit the ball,
100%.
right?
100%.
You that guy that plays basketball or soccer or whatever did all their life, or they played outside, which is rare these days, all their lives. He knows how to make a turn. He knows how to switch directions. He knows how to know his body and work it. And put a racket in his hand. He's gonna figure it out, right? But you switch it around. Those kids might be good at learning a skill, but now when you have to do that skill on top of movement and anticipation and reading a ball and analyzing timing, that might be harder. That's why I think shifting to running is especially in today's world, when those kids do not
Now,
run that much at home.
do you think they would, where we are
One of those.
right now, you think the youth that's coming up would adapt to that? Because I've had kids where I've taught lessons and conditioning, dude. It's like, we're just going to stand here. It's like, you told me to do it, but you can't make me run. You know, where
Isn't that
back in the day, you know, you'd have to
Right.
go do cord sprints, line
Well-
touches, and you just do it, you know? And now there's a lot of kind of
Well-
conditioning used as punishment is like, you know, not frowned upon, but no one really likes it. Or, you know, you tell them to do it and they're half running their sprints, you know, not really getting anything out of it. So it's,
I mean, how about showing up to your tennis lesson in jeans?
yeah. Yeah.
You might as well have a sign that says, I do not plan on moving my feet a little bit. I have pants on.
today?
I have pants on. I'm wearing pants. Not even pants, like khakis sometimes. You know, like what in a heavy shirt with a you know a collar. Like what screams more? I am really not going to move much out here today. You know, but it's what it is.
Yeah.
Part of it, I think, and maybe this has always been the case, but I think it's definitely like I do think that every little kid tries when you're younger, you do team sports, right? And sometimes if you're not a great athlete, you get like pretty quickly you don't want to do those anymore. So I do feel like sometimes, like, you know, like anything else, some people are athletically gifted, some are, you know, have gifts in other. Honestly, you're musically, you're
piano.
artistic, you're this or that. Tennis definitely, I do feel like sometimes, especially when they're just starting, like not the younger kids, but when they're, you know, you get new kids in the 11, 12, 13, 14, they may have already struck out at other sports.
That's a
'cause
good point, yeah.
They're just not that athletic. And what do you do with someone who's not, by the way, you can probably make more headway in tennis because it's a little bit of technique. So you're going to learn how to, you know, you're going to look real good when the ball's fed at you and you're hitting it. But then any of the other factors that come in, you're gone there. But I feel like you're already at, like, some of the kids you work with already, you know, and line them up. We've said this before, make them run real quick. Watch 12 kids run. And real quick, you can be like, you know, all right, Tommy, go grab your racket, dude. We're going to get started. You know, it happens. Or you can just see a kid run and swing, and even he's not even using his technique, but you're like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Like, dude, just listen to me. Do it like this because you're going to be able to do it like that. You feel like makes you look better than you are at what you do. People are like, wow, you got that kid in good. You're like, oh, I just told him what to do. He
just did it, yeah.
You know.
That's, you're right. They'll learn if they want to learn it. And
don't you think you ever see people mimic you?
Yeah.
Isn't there a success rate in, it's like, you know, when you demonstrate something for someone in a lesson and they'll kind of mirror you and they'll do it back and you see them do it and you're like, that was perfect. Like, by the way, it's going to be way different when the ball's coming at you, but even the way you hit all these little details that I didn't even say yet, I just showed you. And then other people you demonstrate for, and then they do it, and you're like, were you just watching me,
that what I look
or
like?
is there someone else here that has zero athletic ability? And talent? Like, what's happening right now? And like right off the bat, it's almost I don't know. There's something to be said about, like, I think maybe maybe it's part of being and your athletic ability is like looking at someone do something and then knowing how to make. That's why I've given lessons sometimes to dancers. Their footwork is always pretty good, but one thing they can do, I swear to God, they've all done it. They can mimic really well.
I had one today.
I had one tell me once I was like, "What do you do?" And they're like dancing. I'm like, "Oh, like, it's weird. I've given it lessons to a lot of people," and she was like, "Well, and you do a lot of copying. Like you're shown positions and then you do them. Which is like, I don't know, if you can hit all the right marks, you might be able.
I think that's combining the two learners. I think that's like it's 7 types of learners, but that's combining 2 of them, and that's visual, and there's that intrinsic. They combine the 2. Image, seeing it, and then processing, internal processing. So when you have those 2 features of your learning, because a lot of people are the tactile learners, I need to move their hand. They feel it. Okay, feel this, feel that.
Yeah.
But I think that the dances are visual
Yeah.
and internal processing, which is the best learning that you want to have on a physical sport. Not talking math. We're not talking anything else. Just talking
Yeah.
something like that.
What do you think
No.
the best crossover sport is?
Hockey.
Yeah.
Those kids are
100%. You
so
can't teach-
good.
You can't
so
teach.
good.
You can't teach touch. I mean, you can, but
Even like the
So I
way
have
that
I
they
agree.
rotate,
but
I've
just
seen
I
some-
don't know. There's something in the hands. Although you
I
say, what
agree.
is it? Up until you think they
Up
have
to
it
the
up to a
shoulders.
point.
You just don't get a serve.
Don't get a serve and or high volleys or overheads. They're not good at.
Really?
I agree with hockey. I have a contender, which is soccer.
yeah.
Soccer, you
I
got
had
to
some good
split step.
soccer players.
The footwork is just you.
That honestly, like
The best footwork players are your soccer players.
Yeah.
There's
soccer
just
was my
no
main
doubt.
sport up until I started working
There's
here.
no.
How do
there's
you
no
explain your footwork?
Ellis is better than footwork.
but hockey. Dude, you play a hockey player, and they will take whatever shot you give them at their feet and they'll
Yeah.
hit it back.
I think there's a
Yeah.
racket sport that really ruins
Squash.
people's tennis game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Squash.
dude.
That's a good point.
You ever
come
worked
out
with any
and they-
squash players, dude? They cannot.
Yeah,
Trying to get them to.
you have to glue their hands.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're just there. There's no like rolling of their wrist. Everything is
Yeah.
like it's a really hard thing to break. And I think it's like close enough too. You got a rack in your hand. It's like
Their
they-
wrist
it's-
just like comes in no matter
Yeah,
what.
yeah,
You
no
know, you
matter
could set them
what.
up in the right grip, and they come and just whoosh, flip that racket right
That
open.
slap of the wrist.
Yeah.
It's tough to overcome.
Yeah, I've definitely.
And they're like,
had
great,
some-
well, just hit slices. Like, fine, you can hit slice, but you got to lock this thing out. And they're like,
Yeah.
nope. Whoosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had some. Tried really hard with some people, and then I'm usually like, "How's your squash game?" Like, pretty good. I'm like, "Yeah, okay,
Yeah. Do you remember that commercial?
get after it.
I'm not even remember that commercial. It wasn't that obvious. Was a long 10, 15 years ago when the commercials were funny. They were just showing a golf course, a putting green, and a pond there. And they're like, ball in the pond. Give him more lessons. Give him more lessons. Give him more lessons. And at the end, piano lessons.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly
yeah, great.
Exactly.
Good one.
This is not for you.
No, no,
Yeah.
it's yeah. It's not for everyone.
No.
No.
I mean, golf is even. I shouldn't say even more, but when I don't know. What do you think?
It's a different type of
I
heart.
had
It's a
yeah, I
different
had
type of.
this conversation today at work. I was trying to explain the difference of the tennis swing and
Do you golf?
the golf swing. Yeah. I think golf is one of those things that I almost compare it to like when you put skiing and snowboarding together. Like skiing is easier to get on but harder to master. Snowboarding is a bigger learning curve, but once you're there, you're there. Where I think
That's a
golf
good
and
point,
tennis
yeah.
is the same thing. Like you can figure out how to hit a tennis ball over, but to really perfect your tennis swing, good luck.
Yeah.
Golf, you know,
Well, it's a moving
You can-
target in tennis.
yeah, golf it's
eventually
hard
is.
to get the swing down. It's such an awkward motion, but once you get that golf swing down, you can shoot so low without even having the perfect
Well,
golf swing.
isn't
But
it
for
like-
Oh, really?
tennis,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's guys out there that are, you know, plus 4 or 5 or, you know, even scratch, and they don't have the most beautiful swings. They're good, but you look at them compared to the pros, and it's like that level is so far off, but they almost make it work, you know, to where these guys are shooting 2 or 3 over, which is considered really good, you know, and it takes a while to get that swing to look okay. And, you know, a couple of years, some people go out there and they just flip their wrists. It's the ugliest thing ever, but tennis, they can figure it out. But for them to get to that next level is just like a brick wall that they may never get through.
Well, the hard part is taking, dude. Anyone can within 3 lessons, you can stand in a spot, have someone feed you a tennis ball,
Yep.
and produce a proper stroke and actually hit the ball.
Yeah.
Pretty clean.
Yeah.
Like it's there.
Yeah.
Good luck
But
setting
there's
that
the hump.
situation
There's
up
a
on a ball
massive
that's
hump,
moving
yeah.
where you have to get in position. Like golfing is always that. The ball's always.
So once you get
Sitting
that
like,
swing
how about
down,
how about
it's-
here? How about I toss
That's-
that fucking ball and you play it while it's bouncing
That's-
and run into it, Happy Gilmore style, and hit a goddamn take a swing. That's what tennis is.
That's
It's
what
like
tennis is.
Yeah, it's there's
It's golfing, but with movement involved. Again, footwork.
right,
Right.
right.
That's It's an exact technique. Maybe a little bit harder than tennis. Maybe not because you have strings. You have a ball moving.
Well, they
But
even
when
it
you-
out too. Like
Yeah.
you're hitting into a hole this fucking big that's
I
a
know.
mile away.
Shoebox,
So
right, as
like,
Seinfeld
there's
says.
like, yeah,
You
I
hit
mean,
a
they're
TikTok into a
definitely-
shoebox 300 yards away.
Yeah.
Well, I guess maybe that's the X factor in golf is that like I don't really golf that much. I enjoy going to the driving range because it's funny you can just hit and it's some feel good, some don't feel good, but it doesn't really matter. Like on a course, now you're adjusting your swing speed a little bit, probably even like your I don't know, maybe your grip tension. You're using different clubs, which has got to kind of change your swing weight
Yeah.
because you're getting the ball to now travel different lengths.
Yeah.
You know, so there is some variable
Oh,
than just
definitely.
standing in line
Definitely.
taking it, but
Do you think is that what's
without movement, I still
Yeah.
think that movement makes everything harder.
How's your putting?
Where
Because
my
be-
putting's actually like
because I think
pretty sick.
that's where golf adds a layer. Anybody can drive a ball 200 yards
Oh, really?
and pick the right club with a couple times out on the course, but putting and
Yeah.
mastering your short game is where it gets really tough.
I found the biggest crossover to me because I can't even use a driver. I feel like the club is so long and it's
Yeah.
like wobbly. I'm like I can't use that. But the one thing I could do effective is with like a 9-iron or like a pitching wedge.
punch it.
I could kind of like choke them on and just it reminded me of like chipping a ball with my strings. Like I just even knew how hard I needed
Yeah, that's
to swing, and I
the
knew like the
crossover.
angle to like come in because I like what I wanted to get under the ball and just like perfectly. It's like the one I had no touch anywhere else except I could be from a little bit off the green and like chip a ball up to like in an area that I was like I didn't even it felt comfortable. I didn't even know that was good till I was like with some people that could golf and they were like, dude, we would kill for that.
Yeah. Well, that's Tiger's big thing. Was his dad like you have to be really good 150 yards in. Like that's all I want you working with. So he wasn't even allowed to hit a driver as a kid until he got really good at being 150 yards in.
Isn't that amazing?
From
That's such a good way to look at it. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's just okay. This is what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
You don't care about that first.
But there's like that comparison. You know, you can learn how to swing and you could probably drive the ball and get forward progress and all that. Once you get a good swing, you can kind of
Right.
figure out the rest. Now
So what's
This
the analogy
is-
for tennis on that?
what do you mean? For like the
What would you
comparison,
prioritize for the kid? Is that what we talked earlier, the footwork
like the footwork and stuff?
versus, or do you prioritize a point of contact, or what's 'cause the golfing doesn't have movement,
Yeah.
right? So what do you
I'm
put movement ahead of stroke?
I'm always big on I like to first get the point of contact out of the way. I think if you're having a bad day, no matter what happens, you can't fix your swing. You've got to make sure that you know where that ball is and
Yeah.
hitting that relation
That's a good point.
into your body is like the biggest.
They're really
thing that you
connected in
can
tennis.
control,
It's,
but
it's hard because
Yeah.
they one
yeah, it goes with the other.
they, one goes with
Yeah,
the other. I think when you're first starting though, like not when you're getting a little better and you're expecting shot quality and shot repetition, be able to do something repeatedly, it may be more important to just get in position, get yourself, figure out your distance, and then you can find any way to sort of poke the ball back
Yeah.
rather than worrying about
I
setting up
lean-
and
I
maybe
lean towards that side too.
using a stroke.
I lean
you
towards
know?
that side. Like get the system there to where you can hit the ball. Doesn't matter how good your stroke is. Right? Doesn't matter. You have the perfect stroke in the world. If your footwork sucks.
Well, you can't even use the stroke.
Yeah, exactly.
Because at some point your brain makes a decision between using
So
the
that-
stroke or
it goes
making
back to what we talked
contact.
earlier, though. It's footwork is bar none the most, because also your stroke changes with height and strength,
Yeah.
Right.
but footwork and feeling the court and the stopping, knowing your body.
The thing is, though, don't you feel like your stroke involves sort of the way you're preparing, and the way you prepare
Yes,
helps you figure out
Yeah.
your distance from. It's like running to catch a ball. Your hand goes out, and you like go, and the ball just like meets you in the hand. You're running to hit a tennis ball, and you set up, and you have this distance that you know you're supposed to be from the ball. So without it, how do you kind of really know
No, you need both.
where
Sure,
to
no,
be?
there's
Because
no
you can
one-
run. How often do you see people
Like you
run,
said,
and then they get there, and now they're
yes.
straight on, and the ball's
Yeah.
way inside? And
Yeah.
which is where that mastery curve just like takes off. You know, like someone could tap the ball over the net. Great, you've gotten into the sport. But
Yeah.
progression is going to take you forever.
Yeah.
That'd
It's an interesting blend, right? How you bring them both up at the same time.
I would be curious as to, because I feel like everyone goes out and they say a scratch golfer now, you know? So, like, what percentage of the golf community is actually scratch versus
What's
you put that at,
considered?
like,
I hear that term all the time.
I know, right?
What's
What is that?
considered?
Yeah.
that's
What's
like
considered
you
a
shoot par.
scratch?
Yeah.
Shoot par.
Which is
Which is whatever
insanely
the course
impressive.
is.
It's
Yeah.
like normally 72-ish.
For the most part.
Yeah.
But
What
I'm a
would-
scratch golfer.
What would
But, yeah,
what would a
it seems
scratch
like there's so
golfer
many people-
be compared to in tennis?
that's what so that's what
ranking.
I want to
5055.
figure out is like,
Really?
what's the population? I think 4 or 5 is like your top 2% or something.
Probably.
So like, what is?
Is,
I
it,
don't
is
know.
that what it is
If-
in tennis?
If you're-
Really?
I think it's.
I
that
actually-
high.
Ooh, can
yes.
we figure that out?
So put like a 5-0
That's a good-
against what
I think
what
so,
the
actually.
I would have
percentage
thought it would
golf
have been
golfers-
bigger than that.
scratch golfers is
dude.
because
Look at our club.
with
How many
golf
4-5s
you
do we have?
can, you know,
I don't know, man. I coach tennis. I'm not a
Yeah,
4-5.
I think
How many
I think I
4-5s do
saw
we
a
have?
stat. I
Out
think it
of-
was 2%.
I don't know. Not about how many members do we have? So what? Out of
1,200 members.
1,200?
Yeah. How many 4-5s?
I don't know.
75%.
The guys that play on contract.
That's it.
How many guys play on that contract?
40 something.
I want to say it's 2 or
What-
3%.
What's that make for
From
So
USGA
percentage?
that's
stuff.
actually that's a very good.
So
What's that make for percentage? May not.
So what is
even
it?
be
2%? I never
so
thought of it.
But even put that against like a 6 or 10 handicap. You know, I feel like that's the level. 4 or 5 equals like, you know, 10 are in, not scratch. I feel like those guys put themselves even higher up. I feel like the tennis percentage is way lower. You know, like that's such a harder
interesting
level to
shot, yeah.
access than
yeah.
you go out there and you watch some of these guys play, dude. They've got some ugly swings, but like they can just hit the ball in golf. They know how to get it forward. They know how to putt it and get it in the hole, and
Right.
it's not pretty. Where you go out there and watch a guy 4-5, if you're at that 4-5, 5-0 level and you don't have decent strokes, like
Well, you're not there.
for the most
we
part, you're
we talked
just
about that
yeah.
before.
You're not.
So I lost your thought there. What's a 5-0 tennis in golf?
I'd say
in golf?
scratch and
5-0
5-0. Right
5-0
now, I'd
scratch?
probably put scratch and 5-0.
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Scratch is really tough.
Like scratches,
Yeah.
and some like
So I think a lot of
D3
golfers
guys
are liars
reach
because
that.
I hear that term.
all the
know.
time.
I hear
all the
that
time.
term.
Anybody
a
who
lot.
tells you they're a scratch golfer is not a scratch golfer.
No.
Like playing bogey golf.
Like, is
hard.
Gav a scratch
I think he is.
golfer?
He is. He
So he's doubled up.
yes.
Maybe
Which
not
is-
anymore, but at one point
yes.
he was a
yes.
5-0 tennis player.
Yes. Yeah,
And
he
a,
is.
And a
That one I know he is, because I hear about like Gav is. But yeah. And I think tennis players can get there. I think golf is one of those sports that you can get, because we had a discussion before on you cannot become a 5-0 player, tennis player, if you have not acquired the skills up to the age of, I said 18, but I think it's more 14, 15.
Yeah.
You cannot pick up tennis at 18 and be a 5-0.
No, it's
Or
impossible.
it's very rare, right? We're talking about that
I got some stats for you if you want them.
in a second.
But-
Now, golfing, is that a sport that he can acquire those later because the movement
Oh,
is that
100%. Because
Okay.
well, that's where
okay?
I think it's so insanely popular. You know, it's a true like lifelong
yeah,
sport.
people
where you
pick it
can-
up in their retirement.
You
Yeah.
can continue getting better because you just go out there. You know, even the best
Because
golfers,
the
if they take
movement is
months
not a
off,
factor.
like it affects their game. It's one of those you just got to be able to play a ton, and you can progress because you just get used to
Because
hitting
it's
that
skill
ball
only.
over and over. Now it's a great skill to have a great golf swing. You're not saying it's easy by any means, but those guys just get those repetitions in, and it seems like the more reps you get, the better you naturally get. Where in tennis, it's like some people can't get through that wall. You can feed them
Right.
1,000 tennis
But
balls,
the
and
movement
they
is
can't.
the biggest
They
difference.
can't, do anything. They can't even unjam themselves.
Because you
to
can
begin
have
with,
somebody
you know?
drop ball to them and they can give you a perfect forehand, but you add the movement in, they're gonna hit the
It's
forehead.
gone. Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
So that is what the difference is.
Yeah.
Is the
Which-
movement, which
I think
tells us
ESPN
now, fellas, the movement is the most important thing to develop first.
Yeah, I think ESPN ranked tennis. I was debating with a buddy a long time ago. This is probably back in high school. It was hardest sports, and I was like, dude, tennis is up there. And I think
Mhm.
ESPN did a top 50 ranking, and boxing was like number 1. I was like, that makes sense. You got two guys just throwing hands at each other.
You could
in a split
die.
second.
Yeah,
but
I
I,
would-
think
yeah.
tennis was like 6 or 7. It was way up there.
I can see
above.
that.
Golf was like 40 or something.
I can see that.
And they take all the agility.
I'm
strength,
interested in that actually.
intellect,
Is-
skill. There's a big
So tennis
table.
is
Yeah.
we got boxing at number 1, ice hockey at number 2,
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's on
Hockey's
skates,
tough.
so
Hockey's
right
tough,
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
football at 3, basketball at 4,
Yep.
wrestling at 5, martial arts at 6, and tennis at 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Golf
wait a
is
minute. So
what, like
is that list?
43 or
The,
something,
the
34?
what sports?
Top hardest sports ranked by ESPN.
It was just like ESPN
Is-
people, you know.
Yeah. Again, it's who makes it, but
I know, but
there's
is
some points there.
boxing is you're brave and you're tough. Is there and you got you need stamina and you're throwing quick hands, you're moving feet. Is there a lot of technique in there?
I think it's a lot of reading and
There's
adjusting.
some, yeah.
But I would
I would put any technique based sport
with the object in your hand.
ahead of that.
Yes. Because you.
And by the way, I'm not going to box, but like there's something to be said about I don't know, those guys you're throwing punches at each other.
Yeah.
And there's stamina, you got to be quick and you're got to be in physically great shape, but I don't know.
It's what the criteria they use, and I
think
can
it's
see
just,
both,
because
yeah.
it happens so fast.
It is
and that
fast.
People
yeah.
just get knocked right out, you know. So they
Yeah.
I've been punched 3 times and I've been knocked out all 3 times. I'm 0 for 3.
Kevin's a boxer.
No,
Oh, it was
never
on
even,
the
no,
streets.
I'm not even a fighter. Yeah, I've never even thrown a punch. But I got a glass jaw, so I get it, but I just I don't to me
No,
it's the top of some list. It's not hardest
Yeah.
or
there's
that's
no
the
est. It's just different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
when
one
you
of
have-
those things where it's like so
but
hard.
tennis
to
is
judge.
goddamn hard. Hockey's
really hard.
It's so
I'd even put wrestling
yes.
ahead of boxing.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
like there's
Yeah.
I mean there's, you know,
Yes.
there's
I- yeah.
you know, there's moves,
I
there's
agree.
like positions you're finding. You're solving puzzles where you're held
Yeah.
like we can slide this here, get this.
Mm.
Boxing you're throwing maybe I don't know enough about it, but you're throwing goddamn punches at
Well,
each
that's what
other.
they were saying when McGregor fought Mayweather. This is like we're talking 5 years ago.
Yeah.
When was that? 5 years ago?
Something like
It
that,
was,
yeah.
yeah.
That it
Five.
right. So you put boxing there at 1. Everyone agreed that if there were a fight in a UFC fight, it will be a no fight.
Yeah.
Of course.
McGregor will just absolutely destroy him.
because
'cause
there's
he
more
can use-
elements he can choose from.
Yeah.
Legs,
Right.
takedowns,
But then you got
jiu-jitsu.
You're in a submit, dude. You're not. All of a sudden, you're in a sleeper hold.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
out cold.
Done.
yeah, but then you got MMA at 6, as opposed to boxing at 1.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
right?
Like
So
right,
that
right.
that one there,
MMA
boxing.
should even be higher
Yeah,
than
of course, yeah,
than
because
boxing.
it's way more
100%.
complex.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't want to, but there's a certain feeling that you get after you roll or you fight that it's primal after you do it. It's something that taps into, like when you come off, it's just the endorphins of your body because you just fought, so you don't get choked or broken an arm or something. And how you respond during that fight, it's different than anything else that I have done. Like there's no thought other than survival. There's no thought other than do I have to respond an email? I have no. You can't
right.
because you're full.
Yeah, all
you're
your
fully
brain power
present.
Is right.
You're fully present, and every little I feel your pinky moving, and I'm trying to question what are you gonna do with that pinky.
Right.
Because there's something that's coming after you move your hand like that.
Right.
So I can, I would put that up there too. The MMA, it's just something that, and then the load that you feel of that after your body used all those systems to survive after 3-4 hours after that.
Right. It's
Holy,
cashed. Yeah.
I'm like, my view today was not great.
That's why I don't get involved in any MMA stuff. I just can't handle the low.
It's tough to explain when you enter animal mode.
I mean, any sport, like, team sports, it's you're out there thing. Any sport that's even tennis is 1-on-1,
Yeah.
but it's kind of between you and a fucking ball.
That's it.
I know I'm playing you,
Yeah.
but it's
You're trying
between
to
you and the ball.
react
But
to the ball.
it's even it's a shade deeper than when we're on a team and there's a bunch of us out there. Like it's a little more personal.
Yeah.
Now, like that boxing, I mean, that stuff is like, let's get rid of the ball. Let's just get it going
You
between
and I,
us,
yeah.
which is like, oof. That's why it's funny. My nephew wrestles,
Yeah.
and we've gone to a few of his wrestling meets, the tournaments. They have these big tournaments. There's like million matches going on. Watching the parents at these things cracks me up.
Oh,
because
is this
it's
funny?
like,
Let's talk about
dude,
that.
it is. I like they're mimicking it with them. I've watched like wives where they're next to their husband and while their kids do it, they're like they don't even realize it. And they're like
It's
they're
like, yeah.
punching. There's all this
That's
shit
true.
going on, and like when they win or when they lose, they it's like you're.
Yeah, you lived through that.
Yes, and
But
it's, dude,
those
it's so personal because it's now it's
Yeah.
like again, imagine like a a tennis match is personal. Parents going out there, you're like, you know what, that was a bad. Drop the rackets and go there and kick the shit out of each other, and that's how we're gonna decide it. Like think about how quickly that would deteriorate, and you watch it, and I'm like, I'm sometimes not even watching the wrestling. I'm like watching the crowd, and I'm trying to identify
That's the best.
who because there's so many
Parents,
matches.
yeah.
I'm like, who's. I think that belongs to that. There we go.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna watch the outcome here. It's amazing. It's amazing. Normally, a fight is the total end of the absolute communication breakdown,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? 'Cause
Yeah.
that's how a fight happens. It's just
That's a good point,
everything
yeah.
else is totally broken down. We don't know what else to do. So now I'm throwing punches at you. You're throwing them at me, and one of us
Yeah.
is gonna get hit enough where we fall, and the other one's gonna walk away all beat up too.
Yep.
There's no communication breakdown. I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
We're actually here to do this.
Yeah.
We're
Right.
here to
We
do
starting like
this.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, man. You see those parents just
Dude.
holding on to, yeah.
I find it fascinating to watch. One, the kids come up when they're younger. Every kid when he loses is crying
Yeah.
when he leaves.
Yeah.
Which
They
you
learn.
get.
They
You've
learn
just
how
been,
to,
You've
yeah.
just been dominated
Yeah.
out there, and then you have been. That's what happens, right? It's like that is really you're crying on a tennis court. You're like, dude, you're hitting a fucking ball.
Yeah.
Against another dude hitting a ball. Relax. I get when like some dude you're like sparring. Now some dude's on you and he fucking holds you down, and you can't move. And then they're like,
Yeah.
game over. And you're like, oh fuck. They're crying. They're
Yeah.
sad. When they're older, they don't do that, but they do definitely like, man, you see them before they go out, and they
Yeah.
are like, they start going and like they're really tapping
Into
something in them.
animal.
Yeah, you just see them. Yeah,
Animal.
it is. It's like
It's just
It's
like
survival
nothing
mode.
behind
they're
the
like
eyes.
pacing, and they'll walk by their coach or something. People like they're hitting them and
Yeah,
stuff, and
yeah,
they're like
yeah.
shaking it off as they're getting hit. And I'm like, wow. What is going on right now?
Yeah.
But like that's how they get ready. It's like it's I don't know.
Because
That's an
this-
intense. It's a really intense sport.
It really is. You have to enter that mode, man. But you quickly
Right.
enter. You don't need to get ramped up once.
Well, I would think that, yeah. I mean, once you're like,
Yeah.
all right, hey, and all of a sudden you're on the mat, and there's a dude on
Yeah.
you. You're like, wait a minute, okay, it's your body produces that on, but
Oh,
maybe
man.
that's what they're trying to produce.
Get
So you
beforehand,
hit it
yeah.
before, like, you don't want to produce it when you're like, you're
In-
on the mat and
yeah.
some dude is fucking on top of you.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's
you're like,
that's exactly
you
what it
start
is.
pacing and breathing
like the head start,
crazy, and
where
you're
you-
like, everyone hit me real quick. Whoa.
It's like us when we get mad, you play better. You enter the next stage.
Yeah, but
for
yeah,
them,
but in
it's
tennis,
survival.
isn't it more of a release?
Yes,
Aren't
it
you,
is.
You're
Yeah.
trying to release it.
Yeah.
This
That's a
doesn't
good
feel
point,
like
yeah.
it's a release. It feels like it's like they're taking it all in, so
like
that then
building up, so
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's a crazy sport.
So tennis is 7. Let's go back to the start of it. It is a crazy sport. Yeah.
Tennis is way too low on that list. by
I
the
think so
way.
too. I think.
You
so
want to know
too.
why? The same assholes that are like, hey, we should go hit.
They made the
We
chart.
should hit some balls.
Yeah.
They're the guys that just made the goddamn chart.
Yeah.
Oh, you did tennis camp twice in 8th grade? Good for you, dude. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know. It's pretty
yeah.
easy.
Yeah, I know. It
That's
is
the
a tough
worst.
sport, man. It
So-
really is.
Do you want to know the breakdown of how they actually
Yes.
like ranked them?
Yeah, it was like all that.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah,
12
what are
different factors.
criteria?
Yeah,
Right?
so they used 10 factors, and they gave them a scale of 1 to 10 on each of those factors. There's endurance, strength, power, speed, agility, flexibility, nerve, durability, hand-eye coordination, and analytic aptitude.
Yeah,
And
those are good.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they added up all the scores, and the ones with the highest.
You can add another
Those.
15.
dude,
Uh,
adaptability.
Yeah, I mean, you can throw a ton.
whatever,
But boxing is 10 total points higher than tennis.
The other thing that I
does
feel
it
like
give
is,
how it breaks down in each?
Yep.
yeah,
so-
it gives the scores.
Let's see. So, tennis. That's interesting. tennis has a really low speed threshold, which
What?
I don't think is true at all.
What does speed threshold mean? What is speed like?
I think they
how
mean like
fast you are?
running.
How fast you need to move?
Jesus.
Yeah,
Jesus, man.
Is boxing
it's a
speed
6.
higher?
It's a 6 as opposed to boxing is a 6.38. But
Have those guys ever had a forehand in midcourt hit at them when they're the net?
it,
How about that same thing? 4 hours
Yeah.
into a match.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
This is the
4
other,
hours into a
Or
match.
5 hours.
Or 5 hours.
Yeah.
this is the other interesting thing actually is the nerve rating is at a 3. But I mean, we talk about how mental
The
tennis
nerve?
is.
Yeah.
Dude, that is so
That's
bad.
definitely a guy that has
By the way,
nerves.
dude,
at a
when you're
3.
nervous, you can keep throwing haymakers. Good luck.
Exactly.
Good luck managing your toss
Yeah.
and coming up with your technique or doing something like performing a task while you're feeling nervous.
Yeah.
Yep.
Honestly, that like
Or following a strategy, yeah.
remembering
Yeah,
what your
remembering, yeah.
strategy is in the moment where you're like, instead of just like, all right, get out there and toss some goddamn haymakers. Maybe I don't know enough, but maybe there's more strategy behind boxing. But I feel like the strategy is like throwing less punches, throwing more punches,
That's
letting a guy wear
exactly
him
what it
out,
is.
covering up a little bit, then going on offense. But there's not like
The analytic aptitude of boxing is the lowest score in the top 10.
What?
right.
I think
Mhm.
you got to be so
Dude.
tuned in with
Yep.
that stuff.
Yeah, you're gonna die.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
If you fight Mike Tyson
And by the way,
and you're not good at analytics, you're gonna die.
the analytic aptitude of tennis is a 6.75. That's criminal.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah.
But again, it's who makes those.
Well,
those
Yeah.
Also, I think the problem with those charts is at what level is this based on?
Yeah.
You know, is this like the hardest sport to get
That's a
like
good
the
point.
best at? Or is this just like the hardest sport to go out and bang around with your buddies? You know?
yeah,
Right.
you
Like at a
you're reading at a
recreational
3-5
level,
level.
I think
or
it's-
the
I think
highest
it's just
level it
rating.
can
Like
be
if
done.
you were
That's
to
a
go out
very-
and play sport, like
Yeah.
no matter who you are, I think they're ranking it on that based on like this is the hardest to
Yeah,
actually
it's are we doing it at
get
this
to the
level?
professional level.
Right.
Are we
you know?
doing it at this level?
Right.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You're right.
That's got to
It's-
be
yeah.
based off.
Just go out and doing it, like trying the different
No,
sports.
see, I
right?
would get the.
you
No,
think
I
it's
would think
higher?
it would. Yeah, I would think they're basing it off like the doing it at the highest
or
level.
not like averaged out. At, you
No,
know,
I think he's right. I think they're basing it at a lower level because that's who
For the
analyzes
average
it.
person to go out there and
This-
try to do that.
This is what I've been saying for the longest time with our organization, USDA. If you want to be able to make decisions for the whole thing, you must be a 5-5. You must be a 6-0. You must be a 5-5-0
Right.
to understand what that player's thinking
Everything else below you.
and
right.
what he's been gone through
Yeah.
his whole life. Because again, you're not going to be a 5-0 starting at 10 to 20. You're just not. Definitely not going to be able to start at 30. I put $1 million on that.
Right.
Nobody will. But if you're a 2-5 or 3-0
You need to have
in charge of
experienced
USDA New
Right.
England, you can make decisions on what a 5-0 league is. You cannot
Right.
treat a 5-0 guys
Of course.
or 5-5 guys the same as you would do with the 3-5. Not to treat them differently, but like create the same league. No, those guys have lives.
Right.
It's got to be worth it for them. They got to have the right competition. There's no sandbagging.
Right.
We passed the point
But
of
they don't even know that.
exactly.
It's
They
like a
haven't
first
been-
grader planning the senior trip.
Yes,
Like, we should do the
thank you.
zoo.
Yeah.
And the seniors are like,
Yeah.
the zoo?
The zoo. What are you talking
What the fuck
about?
are you talking
Yeah,
about?
Yeah.
The zoo?
Yeah.
Like, they don't even, it's
It's
out of,
they try to do their best, but you got to think at that level because you've been at that level.
right.
A 5-0
And
league
unfortunately,
doesn't make sense.
unfortunately, no one is
No,
in that
no
position,
one's in that
is
position.
making, right.
You know what you do?
Right.
You do a big tournament for an area like New England that's, you get a bunch of those, but you cannot make a league. Those guys are not, they're going to do a tournament. They're going to do a 3-day tournament
Yeah.
and make it fun. And that's going to be your team that makes it to Vegas to nationals.
Yeah.
And that's how you make it for that level. And they will love it because there's few of them. They know each other. They'll play. They'll enjoy it. Make it a fun event.
That's my same gripe I have about, all the years before I stayed here in the summer. I worked out of these different summer clubs, and they have tennis boards.
Oh boy.
So you're
Yeah.
hired
Let's talk
you're
about
hired
that.
you're hired to do a job, and by the way, you've been doing it for maybe a lot of years.
Yeah.
Maybe not at your particular club, but the reason you hired me here is
Yeah.
because I was at other clubs, and you think I can do this, and then you meet with a board of, 7 people, and lady steps up and she's like, well, I've been playing this game for 2.5 years now, so here's my 2 cents. And you're like, well, dude, and you just know it's not going to work, yet what else do you have to also please them a little bit or entertain their ideas, but ultimately those boards are meant to make your job easier, and the only thing they do is they make your job harder every single step of the way. And like, I always had a hard time. I'm not that confrontational, so I was always like, all right, well, and I'd be voting. I'd be like, I really don't think this is gonna work, but if you want me to do it, they'd be like, oh, ultimately we do. Should we vote? Everyone votes. I'm like, oh. And you're like, okay. And then you're in the moment where you're trying to make whatever it is they wanted work, and you're in the fucking weeds, and then they'll come up to you and like, oh, this doesn't seem like it's working, and you're like, what? Of course it's not working. I told you this,
They're like, why didn't you stop us?
Dude,
like,
right.
Because you run the show.
I know you're here for summer vacation. Let me, what do you do? Because I just formed a quick board, and I'm going to come to your work, and having zero knowledge about any of the ins and outs, I'm going to start pumping you with ideas and advice on what you should do. Here's what
I enjoy.
Yeah. I kind of like this, so I have no knowledge, but I think this is what I like, so you do that. What other, I don't know. Every club runs under those. It's like, it really hurts more than it helps.
Yeah. We'll let him jump on the board thing, but I got something I want to bring up. I think Rares is gonna go crazy on this. So there was there was a Barstool podcast out with I think it was KFC Radio. You ever seen KFC Radio? You guys, no. KFC Radio. So it's one of their bigger programs, and there's 2 guys on it again, like guys that have gone out and played tennis maybe once or twice, or played on their high school team or whatever, JV doubles, and these guys were saying, they were like golf pros and tennis pros. They're like, I hate that term, I hate that word. They're just like gym coaches that go out and just manage exercise outdoors.
Yeah.
And it was just the comments were, people obviously come in to defend their job. Golf professionals have to meet their certain level. And like tennis pros got thrown in the mix. It was mostly towards golf pros. Like all these fucking guys at country clubs, you're just a gym coach. Like calm down. And it was like,
really?
Man, I would love for these guys to go and deal with everything.
Oh, yeah,
that comment shows how little they actually know about that. Not even just the goddamn teaching aspect of it, which they obviously know nothing about.
Yeah.
The managing of 8 million other fucking things in order to do that successfully and not get fucking crucified while you're there.
Yeah.
Like, who's that dude hanging on the cross? We're like, oh, it's the old tennis pro. Like, what the fuck happened to that guy? There's a lot to manage there. To be like, oh, they're a fucking gym, that rubs me the wrong way just because I've been in that for long enough where I'm like, dude, it's more than a gym coach. And I've been in that conversation before where I feel like, I've talked about this too. Like, my wife works at, in like corporate world and stuff. And sometimes we're at like holiday parties and, guys like, yeah, I'm Seth and I am here for, I'm the CFAO CP. And I'm like, I don't know what any of those letters mean, but hey. He's like, what do you do? And I'm like, a tennis pro. He's like, oh, that must be fun. Like, instantly, like, you must have a good time out there. Don't they? Like, dude, fuck you. There is a little bit more to it.
A lot more.
There is a lot more. There is a lot more.
Oh, my God. We all know how much more there is of it.
It doesn't have that sense, though.
No.
Although golf pros, they're fucking dickbags. Just kidding.
I know. It doesn't, because it's such a niche type of business. Unless you're in it, you got to take the emotional.
Blowing a fucking whistle.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
What do you do? I threw down some cones. I blew the whistle a few times. Yucked it up a little bit. Yeah. I think they really got their money's worth.
Which there's so many people out there that are like not the best at, tennis pro stuff.
Of course.
It comes down to that sense of urgency and everything. And a lot of people just don't have it. And they go out there and think they did like a bang up job. And a kid was sitting on a cone for 30 minutes and hit like 2 balls.
That's sad,
did nothing.
man.
Right. And they were just like, I went out and ran a great clinic there. And it was like,
that's sad, dude. That really
You know?
is.
Right.
And I guess that guy kind of maybe balances it out, where it's like he may have seen him and been like, "Oh, that guy does nothing," you know, and
Right.
that's like
Right.
what 1% of everyone who's got a USPTA certification.
A thought on that thought was, I thought about this years ago, and it's how educated is your membership or your audience or your clientele. And we're all educated in certain things in life, and buying a car, you're semi-educated on it. You can look up different prices, the same car. This is the price of this place, $500 off this one. I have an idea. I'm semi-educated. House, same thing. The society kind of, evolves in this is such a small, like somebody says, oh, there's this tennis pro that gives lessons in the local park, and he charges $40 an hour. And those guys at this club, they charge 80 or 90 or $100 per hour. Like, well, of course I'm going to go with this guy, because the thinking is I'm going for the cheapest, because that's how you train to think.
Right.
But the real question is in our industries, okay, do you want a forehand? Do you want a backhand? Are you willing to spend 100 hours, let's call it 100 hours, with a good pro? Or infinite number of hours with a bad pro and never get it?
Right.
So you get this product that you want. You want to learn tennis at a 2.5, 3.5 level. You can get in 100 hours of private lessons. That will cost you $10,000. You will never get to that with a bad pro that you pay $40 an hour and you get nothing off.
Right.
But they might go with that. So that's, I mean, our demographic and clientele is educated to some extent, but at a starting level, they're not.
No, not at all.
And then you see it all the time. You hear it. Oh, I'm rec department. They do. Yeah, I'm doing kids clinics. I'm like, well, those are people that we teach.
Right.
We
Right.
teach them, and they.
Yeah.
So
Right.
just so you know what you're getting.
Right.
So I think that's a big part, and I think a lot of you're trained to look for the biggest deal, the best price. But it's also what do you get for that,
Of course.
right?
I mean, that's kind of with everything, right?
I had to,
But with a car, you get a best price for the same car. Here, it's not the same car. It's not the same teaching. But they look at it like that.
Right.
I get
Right.
an hour lesson for $40 versus $100. Yeah, but what do you learn? in
Yeah,
an
no,
hour?
there's a difference.
Yeah.
Right.
What's your
Right.
experience?
Right.
And that's where the difference in thinking comes.
well, I had that conversation this morning. There was another woman that I work with. She sent her kid to a tennis camp.
Of course,
I
yeah.
won't say where it is.
Yeah.
But it was like, $20. I was like, hey, I saw your kid, in your Instagram reel. I was like, looks good, but don't really agree with how she's being fed. And this has been like a big debate. A couple of guys, back in the vineyard and I talked about it, was they were all 5 or 6 year olds with red ball. And the woman was standing off to the side. Instead of just dropping the ball, she was throwing it into them. And I was like, big no, my book. You're going to jam the kid all day long. I
You
was
throw
like,
it to them, yeah.
that $20 is like fine, but your kid's gonna get used to hitting the ball like this, and that comes from the other side, and all of a sudden they're so short armed.
Right.
It was like those, they're probably teaching the form right and all that, but even like those minute little adjustments where someone's
Right.
feeding from that wrong
Correct.
angle that they're never gonna see
Correct.
is such a huge
Oh, yeah.
difference maker in your development.
It's amazing how much that stuff has changed, not only the way we can teach, just, I don't know, with kids' confidence and how quickly they can pick it up. Dude,
Yeah.
those modified balls, the nets,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
I mean,
I
we
think
all,
it's even funnier. I think it's
modified rackets. They didn't even have
Yes.
that when
No,
I was
no.
using one of these puppies,
yeah.
Yeah.
when you're 6 years old,
yeah.
standing in line, never really rallying.
No.
Your first 3 years was like,
Yeah.
you're like, when are we going to play a game, coach? And like, well, probably 3 years from now. So go get back in line, Kev, and fucking master that spin that you swing. You're like, what are you telling me? That's all you did, really. You
Yeah,
couldn't, you weren't
that's it.
about to rally,
Yeah,
dude. The
no.
net was taller than you. All of a
And
sudden
you
now
hit
we
those
should
balls, yeah.
right. They shrunk everything. And now like, dude, the kids can rally at
Oh, it's so much
5
more
years
fun.
old.
Isn't
They
it
can
fun,
do
though?
it.
And
They're
it just-
playing. They're
yeah,
playing.
Right. And it
They're
keeps
playing.
the engagement. It makes you want to get better.
And they love it too.
Yeah.
They
Well, it
love
makes it
too.
compete with soccer or
Yeah.
basketball or
Yeah.
any other sport that you're playing
Yeah.
after your first practice.
Yeah.
Not like you keep doing this, and in 3 years from now, you just wait.
Just you wait.
You
Gonna be the
just
best,
wait.
yeah.
Yeah. You're like, oh my god.
But it is funny because there's so many kids that get it and appreciate it, and then there's the other side where they feel like they're being
At
demoted.
My
They're like,
summer
I
club,
don't-
we
and
use
it's
real
usually-
balls.
it's the green dots. It's always the green dots. I want to move up to real balls. I want to hit yellow balls.
Oh
And
boy.
they cannot
Yeah.
time a ball
Right.
with the green dots. Like if you can't time a slower ball, it's not going to work. I was like, these things are awesome. I love to go out and hit it with green balls sometimes because you can just feel your strokes.
Isn't that, yeah,
everything.
that's so
It's
good.
so
I don't know
So
why there's
the
ever
ball
a
stays
complaint
in the
from
court.
those kids.
You
It's
don't
like
go
they're
flying, you know?
complaining for other. They're like they'll miss, and they're like, when are we using real balls? I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not the green dot
Yeah.
that's hurting you right now. Like it,
it's
if
not the
anything,
cuts
it
for
gives
you.
you so much more success.
Because you can swing it.
Yeah.
and
I
not
never
go
do it, but sometimes I
flying.
just feel like you want to show them. You want to be like, all right, you want me to get a basket full of real balls out here and you guys want to set up and rally with these things? Because
I know,
your
man.
numbers will go way down. Whatever
Yeah.
you're thinking is happening is not related to.
And they're like, I'll get used to it. And it's like, get
Yeah.
used to hitting the ball like way up,
Up
here,
there, yeah.
slapping at it. Like that's no fun for
It's
you.
a heavier ball.
Yeah.
It's a quicker ball.
It's
You got to
tough
think
though
quicker.
with our age groups here at like the 14 and unders, where some of
Mhm.
those kids are potentially freshmen,
Yeah.
and now they're
Yeah.
and by the way, they should be on the green dot, but now they're playing with their high school team,
Yeah.
and they're
That's tough,
they're
yeah.
getting
I always
and they're
have
playing
that.
with real balls, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden now, and let's be honest, the balls they're playing with are probably close to green dots.
They're beat up.
They're
They're
buying,
beat up,
yeah,
yeah.
they're coming here and picking up the dead ones, but
Yes.
still, it is you get like where they get it in their mind, but
No, you.
we
If you,
still have to watch out for their development. You can't just be like, yeah,
Yeah,
all
our
right,
job is
that's
to do that.
fine. Like,
Our
yeah,
job is that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. What about people that work at places like, I don't know, if you work at like a resort type thing where
Yeah.
there's different people
All the
coming
time.
in
Yeah.
all the time, where you never have any connection of like taking someone and working
point,
with
yeah.
them and building them.
Yeah.
It's just like the could be the same show every week
It's the
with
same-
just
it's the
different people. Like, I don't know, that would make me want to poke my goddamn
Yes.
eyes out.
Yeah. Because you
Honestly.
will have your 3-4 drills
Right.
and you'll master those, but they'll
Right.
become so
Dude,
repetitive.
doesn't
They
that
become
be
so automatic.
boring after a little
Oh
bit?
my god, yeah, yeah. I will start doing like crazy stuff. Because if you're not creative, man, I don't know. If I'm not creative in this job or anything I do, personally, I'm not gonna do it.
Or just have the chance to really dig in and actually help.
Yeah. So you got to create something specific to you.
Right. Right.
So that's the challenge for me. Okay, how do I get you? Or like you have a
Right.
group of this 5-year-olds can understand this much. Their attention span is about 15 to 20 minutes to a task. Then you got to reset them with a game.
Right.
Then you can bring them back to the task or introduce
Right.
something different. But that's the fun challenge. It's not doing this, following the same script over and over again.
Well, also too, I mean, if you really want to fix, like, we have the luxury of like someone comes in for a lesson, we want to work on a problem. Like, we got all fucking year. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And by the way, we need all year.
Yeah.
And we need months on this.
Yeah.
We need to, in order to actually fix it. I can bark a whole bunch of things that you're supposed to do real quick, and you're like, or we can start with a little piece of it and like put some things in place, and then do it with. In those situations, you don't get that.
You don't.
At all.
You don't get. You get that one chance. You got to make a quick impact. That could make you, to some extent, a good, like, solution, like pinpoint of the root of a problem if there's a problem. But if you want to teach somebody,
Right.
you need time. In this sport, you need time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, sometimes you got to tear it down and start from scratch.
Dude,
Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes you got to just create a drill like for a specific person.
Right.
You know, I was
Right.
Yeah.
teaching. I had a class of, I think you guys do 3 to 5 year olds here. So back at the
Yeah.
summer club, I had them, and man, it was like you needed a 5-minute drill. That was it. They would tap out. You know,
They do
'cause they're
tap
all
out, yeah.
kids that are,
Yeah.
have these
Yeah.
electronics, and
Yeah. Yeah.
they're a little bit, more well versed in the world than some other people. So they're used to having like all these different things they're doing. They're going to these
course.
different camps. They got all this money to spend on this stuff, and it was like every couple seconds, like new drill.
Right.
Where it was like you just create these ridiculous games that somehow worked.
Right.
They do.
Because that
Right.
one kid, I would be like, here's a hula hoop. Like, try and see how many times you can hit the ball through the hula hoop just to get them to stand still and hit a forehand. And then they
Yeah.
like start actually playing tennis really
Right.
well. And
Yeah.
it was like very
That's all.
satisfying job though when you get it to click with someone.
Yeah.
It's-
I-
it
I
is.
do
I
think
mean, that's
that-
kind of what makes teaching
The creative part
the,
is
like
is
the
it?
most rewarding, right?
Yeah.
When it's like, or even if they're not that challenging, just someone who doesn't have a skill, and you teach them it, and they've tried it before, and then they just do it one time, and after they do it, they're like,
Whoa.
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's
it.
there. I'm like, that's for me. That's like that's the
That's
payday
it.
right
Yeah.
there.
That's it.
I'm like, you can smile. I'm smiling right now. I'm like, fuck yeah, you just goddamn did this.
You
thing,
see the
you know?
eyes.
Especially
boom.
if they haven't.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, oh, I've tried to work on this before, and I just haven't. I'm always like, well, you either haven't done it enough times, or never to talk bad about anything else, but maybe you just didn't get the right info.
Yeah.
The right information plus enough reps with certain
right
things,
way, yeah.
it just, you're going to be able to do it. And when they do it, and it's like, even adults are like afraid to smile about it sometimes.
Yeah, just
you
let
can
it out.
see it.
Let
By
it
the way,
out.
I know. I just
Yeah.
watched you hit it, for Christ's sakes. I know. I'm like, how'd that one
I
feel?
love
And
to
they're like,
explode with them. Like, yes.
and it's
Yeah.
just as much for you as it is
Yeah.
for them. That's the thing. Right.
That's the game we're playing,
that.
dude.
Right. Yeah.
That's
That's kind of
isn't
the
that
thing.
the beauty of it? What's
Yes.
yeah, enjoy it.
That's why there's nothing more rewarding than giving lessons to people that actually want them.
Yeah.
Some people come
Yeah.
and they take lessons. They don't even realize it. It's like they don't even
Yeah.
want it.
Just
Oh,
getting
yeah,
at
You're
it.
like, do
we'll-
this, and they're
we'll
like,
have
blah,
them.
blah, 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 blah. There's something. I'm like,
Yeah, why are you fighting me on
That's a
it?
killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a killer. Some people, even if they're untalented, not even that athletic, they just want to get it. I'm like, you got it. I can tell how bad you want it. Now I want it that bad. Let's figure this shit out.
Isn't that's interesting
know?
because Kevin and I talked about this before, and it actually goes a little bit under the psyche of teaching in this job. We're getting so, since I'm humble, but so good at reading a person's one character, but energy on a court.
Oh yeah.
So good, so quick
Yeah.
that when you feel somebody wanted it, it just activates those systems in you. Like, I'm gonna give you my full attention,
Yeah.
and we are gonna do
Yeah,
this
yeah.
fucking thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out together.
Yeah.
And that's so good.
It is.
It's so rewarding, and it's
Yeah,
nothing
the-
to do. And
it's
talking about
exactly what you're chasing. when
talking
you're
about
teaching.
time going fast in
Yeah.
that you're like, I want to do 5 more things
Yeah.
to get you there, but that's okay. Next
Yeah.
week, right? Versus looking at the clock.
Right.
We'll have done it.
I'm
Yeah.
like, it was just 4:30. How is it now? 4:28. Are we going backwards? Is the clock right?
I know, right? Because you don't feel that person wanting that,
Yeah.
and you feel what am I doing here?
That's why sometimes people will leave, and I think they feel like you're fucking with them, and they're like, "Oh my god, thank you." I'm like, "Thank you." And they're
Yeah.
like, I'm like, "No, no, no,
No. You don't get it.
that
Yeah.
wasn't honest.
Yeah.
It may have not come off that way,
Yeah.
but like, thank you, dude. By the way, I'm getting paid
Yeah.
out here
To do this.
You're paying me. This is like,
Yeah.
I'm happy to be out here doing this. You just made this hour a fucking pleasure
Fun.
with my
Pleasure.
dog because
Isn't that
it's not always
all
like
have
that. And
this
it's a
couple
job.
people that
It,
come
you got
in
it,
and we're like,
dude. It's a job.
Right?
It should be.
Yeah.
It should be. But the longer you do it, you appreciate the people that you're like, oh my god, thank you for like. This is the reason I started doing this. Thank you
Yeah.
for. Sometimes you forget
Oh,
after
yeah.
a little bit.
Best
I'm like, thank
lessons
you
ever.
for
Yeah.
yeah. Honestly,
So this takes me to a concept that you and I think we talked about it a little bit before, and it's kind of what that everything tennis was geared towards. But the concept of changing the whole mold in teaching and making it a project lesson with somebody versus a regular lesson with somebody. And a regular lesson sometimes it's not out of the question because that's a maintenance lesson, right? But what if somebody comes to you is like, all right, we're gonna get the forehand going, right? Now doesn't mean you don't do anything else to help and support that, but you do a project lesson like, let's get this done, and you have a tangible goal for that person, right? So you have your 5, 6, 8 regulars, but then you also have a set of lessons where you're like, no, I'm just working on fixing this person. This person doesn't need help on their backhand, does it? They're just off on their forehand. They're just off on their serve. Like, all right, let's focus 6 lessons on this. We might need more, we might need less. But this is the project lesson. We're done. Now it's up to you. You got to practice the serve 300 times a week, which is not much. And then we'll revisit it. So now you have a limited amount of time, or that time shouldn't be but a project in mind.
yeah.
Of that's what we're doing. That you both look forward to. I don't know. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I like those. That's why I think it's nice when some people have an idea of what they want to work on.
Yeah.
And usually it's like, I don't know, it's a forehand, backhand. It's like, great, we'll do that and, polish these things and see if we can find something we work off of.
Yeah.
But it's always the best when I think I have a couple right now where they're like, yep, my forehand's off again. It's like, great, come in. And you just get so
Zoned
deep,
in.
Yeah.
so deep
Specific.
until like little
Specific to them.
movements that
Yeah.
you want them to feel. And, even getting those repetitions kind of like,
Oh, is that Stu?
Yeah, Stu, I'd love a
All
beer.
right,
By
yeah,
the way,
all
don't
right.
even think about, if you don't have a few beers, go back down, grab some, and then you can come up.
All right, put it on Kev or Sean. I'll open this.
Here's what I think too about that, honestly, because I'll kind of do that with some lessons. Like I have a few people that I don't, some people I've worked with for years. Some people will come in and take a certain amount of lessons over a couple months.
yeah.
And then you release them back into the wild, and they come back in, and this, that. And what we work on is very specific things where I'm like, honestly, we can scratch the surface in a million different ways, or you can take all of your brain power over the next little bit, and everything else will still be good, but you're going to focus on your forehand, your backhand, your forehand volley, your backhand, your serve, whatever it is, and we're going to do all that and like work. And you could do a few other things here and there, but like when you feel like you're at a point with that and where you're like, wow, I've actually made a significant improvement, then you start picking something else. But it's funny, sometimes you always ask people if it's something when they first come in, and it always cracks me up when I'm like, do you have anything in mind? Especially if it's like a one,
Yeah,
one-off.
yeah.
And they're like, well, I'd like to, my forehand sometimes is a little shaky. Same with my backhand, so I could do a little bit there. Sometimes my footwork feels a little bit off. I play with a guy who has a slice backhand. That would be kind of cool. And then maybe we can work a little volley work and get some serves at the end. And I'm like, are we doing a 14-hour? This is a 24-hour lesson? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Because honestly, really, how much brain power can you put in to honestly, if we're gonna make some changes, let's focus on one thing for
I
a
find
little bit. Although I've pushed people, you ever push people off the cliff?
Yeah.
Where
40
you
minutes.
it's like you work to get it, and then it's there,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh yes,
Then it starts declining.
dude, and then it's
Yeah.
gone. I usually apologize after that because
Yeah.
I can see them
Yeah.
thinking, I'm like, by the way, that was
That's
on
me. Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
was on me. There's only so far. You did it. You climbed the hill. We got there, and I wanted you to get some reps the right way, and I made you take a few too many because there is that you just get worn out mentally, physically, and then you miss it a few, and you thought you had it.
Yeah,
But that's part of the process. But I don't know. There's something to be said knowing when to pull the ripcord.
I don't think
on
you
something.
do until you fall off the cliff. I think you find everyone's edge, and it's typically around. There's a certain physical exhaustion they can take if you do a physical thing, or is a time which is around 40 minutes of the mental. And everyone's age is
So will
different.
you go until they?
I do go until
Really?
to know. Then
But
next
stop.
time I don't go
Okay,
past that.
right. That's I try
I
to
need to
find that
find
point
their
where
edge.
I'm like I
Yeah, yeah.
almost.
I
know. God,
always
hate-
find their edge, and
Yeah,
I tell
there's
them that's
nothing
your
worse
edge.
than pushing them off
But you gotta find their edge.
because you just had this moment where it's like it's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
good. You feel
I
so
yeah.
good about it, and then but even that's a part of the. I'm always like, hey, by the way, this
That's
is
why
part
you
of the
pay $100 an
process.
hour.
This is
Yeah.
how we do it.
We gotta know how you operate this time of the day,
Right,
this day of the week, right? At this type of information.
right.
That's right. Because you can do a physical lesson with somebody, and their edge is gonna be lower on a freaking Friday if they work all week,
Right.
right? On a Monday they might be good because they might be after the weekend, so you can push that a little bit. But
Yeah.
I think that's
I think I might even have an edge teaching.
of course. Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've given a lesson that's taken enough out of me that I'm like, man.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm going to be that great.
No.
This next
No, no.
lesson, like there's
And then
this
you change
person just
But that-
asked out of me, not even on purpose, but
Yeah.
just made me deplete my tank a little
Yeah.
bit. Where
If
like
it-
maybe I'm just not
But is the
as
is the
engaged
mental-
or is
is the mental tank or the physical tanks? And that's
well
that's when you
teaching. It's
switch.
more mental, right? I mean,
and that's when you
how-
switch to physical. That's what I do. Because I do the same thing. Like I analyze as much as I could analyze of you right now. We've gone as far as I could get today with what I can give you or what you can give me, whatever it is. Let's make it physical now.
bang some balls.
or the opposite,
Yep.
right? We've done lots
Yeah.
physical. Let's focus a little bit on just focus on this one thing. So you can, I mean, that's what I do. I don't know, but yeah.
No, I think that's
But everybody has an
Right,
edge,
that's
man. It's a
it.
different edge.
yeah, they do.
And if you know your people, you know when their edge
yeah,
is.
you do start to know it.
Yeah.
You can read signals
Yeah.
on people. You're like, hey, let's go get a water break. Like, I don't need one. I'm like,
Yep.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Let's reset.
I'm like,
yeah.
I need one. I'm tired of talking.
Yeah.
Let's take a water break.
I
You
rarely
know?
find somebody that can take a task or a concept past 40 minutes.
Mm.
Productive. It's not happening. They took as much they can take in. Now it's gonna take them 2-3 days of sleep and to process it.
Yeah.
And
Well, it is
physicality.
amazing what processes when you leave the court.
Yeah.
I never know how to explain to people. I'm like, by the way, some of this stuff is just going to settle
That's
in.
how your brain
I don't
operates.
know how to
Yeah.
take, but like trust. Like
Yeah.
the next time we do this, it's going to be
Yeah.
a little bit easier, even if you didn't practice it. It's just
It's just good.
your body has.
Yeah.
You're not hearing all this stuff for the first time, or this or
Yeah.
that, or
Well, your brain starts at night when you sleep, right? We talked about it with sleeping, how important
yeah.
that is. It takes the information that you do, and it kind of starts putting it in the right drawers there.
yeah,
And I tell people the same thing. Like, you watch how you're gonna sleep on it, and tomorrow this is gonna make sense.
right.
That's who we are.
I hate. You always want to end with a success. I always hate when I've
Yeah.
misread it and we've gone a
Yeah.
little bit too long, and then I'm like, okay, we'll finish up soon. Just give me a few more, and I want
You want that one, yeah.
One.
more where it just you had that feeling again. Like
That's it,
sometimes
we're
they
done.
can't
Yeah.
find it again. Yeah, sometimes when it comes, you're like, all right, we're ending on that one. They're like, and there's
Yeah.
nothing worse than like, and you can talk them up, and you're like, okay, look. I'm like, I've worked this too much and blah, 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 this and that. It's like, there's just something about it. Like,
They're not gonna forget that one time they got it, man.
no. And that's what makes them believe. That's what I was telling them. Like, if you did it once, by the way, we established that you're capable of doing this. So this thing that you thought you couldn't do, you just did.
Yeah.
And by the way, I know you hear me telling you, I know you felt it.
They
If you
felt
can do
the
it
feeling,
once,
yeah.
you can do it. Now your brain gets it, your muscles don't. Now they just repeated that. Now you have a map to follow. Like your brain, that's what's frustrating is people know what they want to do. They're like, well, do this. And then they're like, and they're spazzy. And you're like,
Yeah.
eventually you do it once where I'm like, that was it. And they're like, oh my God, that was it. And they have a little bit, you can repeat. It's like you need it one time, which I feel like from our end, a lot of times it's either using different words, like keep finding different words
Yeah,
because
what
they're
works for
hearing what
them,
you're
yeah.
saying or this, that. Eventually you stumble on a word
Yeah.
that like makes sense for them. Or sometimes, like, I don't know, sometimes I'll even, after I've said enough, like you kind of chitter chatter about something else and kind of relax and they don't even realize and then they do it. Like you get them out of their own
Yeah.
way because you can try so hard to do something that you now no longer can complete the task because you want to do it so bad, but like the info's in there. You know what you did, you just got to do it. And then you do it one time and then you can do it. There it is. Like now you have something, even if it takes 10 more tries,
Yep.
you do it a second time. You're like, oh, that was it. Now all of a sudden you do it 2 times in a row and then you can't do it for 8 more. And then you do it 3 times in a row. Like it's all there, but it like takes that one
The one time.
time where sometimes people have to buy into
Associated-
you.
Yeah. They
I had a lesson where I'm
associated-
like, dude, I say a bunch of words. You don't know what the fuck if I know what I'm talking about. And then you hit a ball, and I make you hit a backhand
Yeah.
that feels like the best goddamn backhand you've ever hit in your life.
Yeah.
And then people are like, you can tell they've signed
Yeah.
on. You're like, all right, now
got it.
now I know this person trusts me
Yeah.
to now guide them in a certain way. But you kind of have to get that out of people because I think like you were talking about bad tennis pros earlier.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's like anything else.
Any
There's
business. Any business.
people have
yeah.
taken lessons where they've spent a lot of money where they've had 0 results, so they can come in jaded a little bit where they're like, yeah, I've taken a whole bunch of lessons, I've done that, and they just haven't had the right.
That's why
they
this-
haven't had it the right way, and 10 years of bad lessons can be erased in.
Yeah.
It feels so goddamn good when you finally
And-
hit it the right, do something, whatever it is, the right way where you're like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm
And
willing
you
to
know-
sign on to
yeah,
this asshole
yeah.
for a little bit
I'm not gonna go
longer.
back to that pro
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
I'm gonna do this.
Yeah. You know,
Cognitive, and you find that, at least me, I find it on smart people, right? But not too athletic, or they haven't. Not I shouldn't say athletic. They haven't developed the athletic ability as much lately. Like you have a corporate guy, right? Smart. He can process information. He understands everything you tell him.
Yeah.
Look, this is what happens. A goes to B. B.
Yeah.
But he hasn't trained those systems of communicating the information to his body.
Yeah.
Or to the physical part.
Right.
Those paths are not trained anymore. Takes him longer.
Yeah.
Right? Versus somebody that's a physical guy, he's like, no, I do this every day.
Yeah.
So it's understanding your system too, the system that you work in too. Because cognitively, most people get it,
Right.
But then how long does it take to transfer that to the body
Right.
and be able to do it repeatedly? Because what the brain does is learn something and send it to automatic behavior.
Yeah. It's like
That
a
could
baby
take
learning how to walk.
Yeah.
They can't walk. They take one step.
Yeah.
You know what happens
Boom.
next? They're walking.
Yeah.
They take one
Yeah.
fucking step.
Like,
and
wait
then
a
they're
second. Yeah.
because all of it takes one goddamn time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do because it takes a lot of patience. Because, man, if you're getting pent up about them not doing it, they're feeling it too. So it takes such a great amount of like being totally invested that I want you to do this, but I'm not frustrated that you can't. I get
Exactly.
it. I know how long it takes. You have an unrealistic expectation. You think you're in one lesson, you're going to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
By the way, you think this is your experience. I've seen 500 other people have this experience of coming here and thinking they're going to know how to do this faster than they can. You know, people are like, you're so patient. I'm like, dude, I'm not patient. I'm realistic.
Yeah.
You're just not being realistic about what you think you're going to be able to produce because you've watched fucking Fed
Yeah.
too many
Yeah.
one-handed
Right.
backhands on TV. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's the way it works.
Yeah.
You know?
I think people are so afraid to miss too.
Ugh.
So
It's
afraid to miss
well, the deeper feeder is fear of failure.
that they're like they'll come in and their racket face is so open and they're so used to hitting the ball in like that where you make a correction, you're like, look, man, your first 5 are gonna not even make it to the net. You're
Yeah.
gonna hit it straight in the ground because you've
That's normal,
overcorrected your
yeah.
brain for your racket to be like this, but the ball to come off straight.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't like that. So they're like, don't make the adjustment. It's like, trust it. It's like,
They
you
can
have
even
to let
want
it
to,
happen.
but it's just before it happens, they don't even choose to make
Yeah.
it, you know?
And
Think
it's-
about how many people crawl around on their grip, like on
Yeah.
the serve,
Yeah.
crawl out of their continental, or on like crawl out of a semi-western back to an eastern. Like, you're
Right.
not choosing to do that.
Yeah.
It's so,
Ingrained.
Deep.
Yeah.
And it's less so in like privates, more in those clinic settings. You'll see it where they just want to get the ball in. So it's like,
right.
yeah, man, thanks for the advice, but like, not working for me. I'm just gonna go back to what I'm doing because I'm getting the ball in. It's like, all right,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough, man. It's like,
No,
if
that's
you wanna
fine. You're never going to get better.
keep playing
You're
like
gonna
that.
hold
That's
yeah.
fine, yeah. But it is so funny that people are so worried about that result to be. We want everything instantly.
Well,
that if
it's
it's not
psychological,
there instantly,
man.
it's
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Like any other sport, but this one in particular, because we're doing more, it's so psychological too. And
100%.
But it hits deeper. It hits deeper into like your personal achievement chord, your failure chord, all of that. And I think that's what I need to leave to the side most of the time.
Yeah. But, well, don't you think that's kind of on us to remind them?
Yes,
Like, how
of
often
course.
in a lesson when you're working on something do you start by being like, by the way,
It's
give
okay.
yourself
It's
give
okay.
yourself right now, give yourself permission to miss.
Yeah,
Because,
it's
by
okay.
the way, you're going to miss,
Yeah,
and it's going to be really ugly.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know?
you're gonna hit the curtain right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, once they do that,
Yeah.
they do, like, you know, like my lesson earlier, the guy thinks through every bit of his swing so much that sometimes he swings at, like, 4 miles an hour. I'm like, dude, you got to think,
Jeez,
you
yeah.
got to think less.
yeah,
Like,
go.
let yourself swing at it. Free yourself up and go.
Yeah.
There's like something you got to get out of your own way in this sport, which is really hard to do.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to do when you're thinking about every little piece along the way. Think about what's the last thing you learned, and before you really got it, think about how clumsy you were at it. Like, I don't know. I think as teachers, especially in tennis, we've played this game for so long, you can almost sometimes forget like how hard it is to do
It's
the simplest
Oh yeah.
things like
Oh,
we
yeah.
take for
You go the
granted,
opposite
like just
hand.
these little things. Yeah, dude, or pick up anything new where you're, you know, I'm saying I learned drums a few years ago, and for the first year I was learning, sometimes I could hardly work the next day because my hands they were breaking out in like blisters
oh yeah.
from me.
I remember those, yeah.
Squeezing the sticks so tight.
Yeah.
You know, even when we're playing, some of my buddy would like, dude, looks like you're squeezing those really tight. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm bleeding from my hands. I guess I
Yeah.
am a little bit. But it's like, you know, or
Takes like everything
I'm
else.
like, man, I tell people all day long at work, to goddamn relax. I can't remember it
Yeah.
myself. Because your brain, like you're in the moment, you can't remember it. It's just like it's part of your focusing on it, you know?
Well, you're always going to use more muscle initially when you learn something, right? It's always like, it's that whole body, and then you
Right.
start eliminating stuff that you don't know.
So that stops when your brain doesn't have to walk
When
you
your brain
through
starts
it,
to understand
when
the
your-
patterns
when-
of
when
what-
your
what muscles you
can just
actually need, like-
reproduce a
Yeah.
movement. Yeah.
Being efficient, right? You're not tying a shoe with all of your body
Yeah, yeah.
power. But
Yeah, yeah.
initially, when you're a little kid, you just
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
All right, Shauno, good work, buddy.
Hey,
Thank you.
um,